Okay, we begin in 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Good evening, DJ.
Hey, we're back.
A dinosaur story.
No, we can't make that joke anymore. We've done the commentary.
Oh, we've actually... Okay, but it's on Patreon. The regular channel doesn't know about that.
That's true, that's true. Okay, we'll continue to make that joke.
I am still considering going ahead and posting that publicly because that commentary was so much fun, but it has immense amounts of swearing, and I don't have time to go back and bleep, F-bombs and things. So I'm thinking about just putting a disclaimer in the title and being like, whatever, it's on the channel, you guys can watch it.
Too fun not to post.
That will be the name of DJ's autobiography. Welcome, folks. Thanks a lot for being here. It has been a couple of weeks. It feels like it's been a lot longer for me. I have really missed you guys and had a really weird time since Christmas. We got pretty sick here at my place, me and my wife, and weirdly the babies, but not the other kids. We did dodge a bullet there, DJ. The other kids didn't get ill, so that's good. But the babies were really congested, and one of them had a fever, the other one didn't, and nobody was like, massively ill, like, life-threatening or anything, but which I guess is a thing that, we have to worry about a lot more these days with the COVID thing. As soon as you say, you got sick, it's like, oh God, did anybody go to the hospital? But no, nobody went to the hospital. But everybody's all right now. But anyway, the babies were really congested, and I had to stay up a lot of nights to help them out. And so there was literally no time whatsoever to make videos. And I had planned on taking at least a week off around Christmas anyway, but it made it impossible to do Spider-Man No Way Home. So 2 weeks we didn't make that video. I was inundated with questions about it. When are you finally going to review that? We did it Sunday. We spent way too long on that, but it was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who popped in for that. And now I'm back more or less in the swing of things. And thanks a lot for popping in tonight for the Captain Logan Show. Tonight we're going to do a regular Ask Me Anything show. We're going to talk about any pop culture items, news that you want to chat about. I haven't been keeping up real hard, so some of the news questions could be informing me in the first place of things. I haven't been on blackout. I've looked up things a little bit here and there, but I haven't been super, on the pulse, as Vince would put it. If you want to make sure that your question, topic, concern is discussed tonight on the show, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and you can also leave a regular pre-written question, and we'll try to tackle at least a few of those as well, if possible. Tonight we have a lead-in topic, as suggested by the title and the thumbnail. We won't talk too long about this, but I wanted to make sure that it got brought up, and I wasn't sure anybody would ask about it. DJ, it looks like things could be totally up in the air and changing for the CW.
Yeah.
The CW is up for sale now. Warner's is trying to get rid of it. You know why? Because it's not profitable, and it hasn't been. Is anybody going to be shocked by this? Since 2006. Do you know when the CW started? The CW started around 2006. I think '05 officially was when you had the merger between UPN and the WB that became the CW. And when I read that factoid, I was wondering, okay, did it have a really profitable first year, or is what that's saying really it was never profitable?
Why do they keep adding shows? I don't. What business model is that? That's
so
like
there is a
movie pass.
So there is a reason, and it makes a lot of sense that they're trying to get rid of it now. The real question is how they were keeping the thing afloat when it was losing money before streaming. But essentially what was going on with the CW up until recently is they were essentially making a lot of shows for streaming that they were broadcasting first on the CW. And I don't think a lot of people realized this until Superman and Lois happened because that show was made primarily to be an HBO Max booster. So it would broadcast on the CW, and it was ostensibly a CW show. It was ostensibly set in the Arrowverse, but only like very broadly, and it didn't cross over with things a whole lot. It didn't really matter that it was in that world, which is part of why it's as good as it is, because it wasn't mired by all of that stuff. And CW Crisis helped a lot because they were able to just kind of ignore that continuity because they basically, revamped it and kind of half started over anyway. So, there's a couple crossover things here and there. Diggle shows up in one episode and stuff, but like Supergirl's not even in that show, and I don't think ever referenced or hardly referenced. It's not a direct spinoff, but anyway, it is in that guy played Superman in that show, but it's not a spinoff in the sense of, in the pilot, there's like a passing of the torch like you usually get with a spinoff. But I digress. So, that show was kind of made to just be an HBO Max show, but start on the CW. And it turns out that all of their shows were done that way for several years with a Netflix contract. So the idea is they would broadcast first run on the CW on television, and then Netflix would buy the streaming rights, and that's how they kept it afloat. Apparently, even with that, it wasn't technically profitable. So, I don't know if that means that they were. It wasn't like the actual shows as broadcast weren't profitable, or if even with the streaming thing they were still in the red that entire 15 plus year. I'm really not sure what the numbers are with all of that and whatever. But anyway, so apparently. They're trying to sell it now, and it's too early to have any sense of what's actually going to happen with this. Apparently, the companies that are most vying for getting their hands on the network are big local companies that do a lot of local kinds of broadcasting. And my big question is, when it finally gets sold, what does whatever company that buys it do with it? What are they buying exactly?
Yeah, they can't have the characters.
I wouldn't think they would have any of the shows. So I don't know if you know this, but the CW is still funneled, like their broadcasting, their content rather, is still funneled by two different companies, with Warner's as the parent company. So they get stuff from Paramount because that was UPN, and they get stuff from Warner Brothers because that was the CW. If another company buys the CW, I wouldn't think that could still keep happening. Otherwise, they would just be in the exact same boat it's in now. So, what are you getting with that name if you're not keeping, any of the superhero shows or, the little bit of other programming that anybody's watching?
That's weird. I would have to look into that further. That seems.
Nicholas Robinson, what does this mean for the Babylon 5 reboot? Silent Magician, what does this mean for the DC shows? So, I don't know about the Babylon 5 reboot. My guess is because the head of the CW basically put out a press release, or not a press release, a memo that I guess was public, to his employees, and said, nobody panic, business as usual, essentially. So this is in the really early stages. We don't know when or if this is actually really going to happen. The company being, or the network rather, being put up for sale doesn't actually mean anybody's going to buy it. And I don't know what kind of a bid Warner's is looking for and what they would sell it for. And again, I'm not, and this isn't really my wheelhouse, so there might be some folks watching that understand the business side of this better than I do, and feel free to leave comments and let me know if you have a better sense of what exactly a company would be buying if they got this network, because again, I don't fully understand what you would even be getting your hands on. My guess is one of two things will happen with the DC shows. Either they'll all get canceled with the possible exception of of two, of Superman and Lois and Stargirl, because Stargirl honestly should have been an HBO Max thing in the first place. It seems like their strategy with that was, let's do the same thing we've been doing with the DC shows and that we're doing with Superman and Lois, where we'll broadcast it first, hope for a little bit of ad revenue or whatever, and just use that for word of mouth and stuff, and then the real money with that will come from our subscribers on HBO Max. And by the way, recently it was, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, recently, I just remembered this, I read that HBO Max has some like 78, 80 million subscribers, which is, DJ, better than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I would have no way of like estimating what that was beforehand, but yeah, that's interesting that they released that.
I don't know what it is compared to Disney Plus and Netflix and any of the others, and I don't know what that is versus the projections or what they're hoping for, what they really need to keep that whole train moving. I'm sure that they were hoping for better than that, but that's better than I expected. So anyway, apparently that's where the quote unquote real money is, and so
Stargirl, gotta have a streamer these days.
Say it again.
Yeah, everyone's got to have a streamer these days. That's where it's at. Got to follow the money.
Exactly.
I do know that they will not release every movie on their streaming service first again next year, because that didn't work for them.
No, but we should talk about that in a minute, because there's a thing with the Batman about that. But anyway, so I'm not sure that it's really that there's really any point to continue this model of put it on TV first and then put it on streaming, when nearly every other streaming service has their originals, and that's pretty much it. I guess that's not entirely true, though, because you have a lot of things now like Paramount Plus and Peacock and stuff where they have some originals that they're doing for their streaming platform, but then they're also streaming their the stuff that broadcasts second. So I mean, I guess this is a model these things are using, but only because they're already TV networks that were putting broadcast stuff up in the first place. But if all I'm saying is, if those shows aren't actually generating very much viewership and carving out very much of the broadcast pie and making anything like enough in with ad revenue, which apparently they're not, I don't know what the point is of doing that. So I think what will happen is Stargirl will just go back to being a streaming only thing like it was when it started, because it was a DC Universe thing in the first place, and Superman and Lois has had good buzz around it, and I don't know how well watched it's been, but it's been pretty critically acclaimed. That show I think will stay on, and I'll be surprised if that doesn't get at least 4 or 5 years. And then besides that, I would think that everything else is kind of a waste for them, and they'll cancel everything. I really don't think if the CW gets sold that you will continue to have the Arrowverse or whatever the heck they're calling it now, because they officially changed the name of that to
really?
DC TV whatever the hell. I don't remember
still
what
call
it was.
Arrowverse. I was looking up an image for the thumbnail, and it was like Arrowverse wallpapers, and I clicked on it.
Yeah,
that's what they call it still.
Yeah, everybody else is calling it that. It's
like when they tried to be like, oh no, it's not the DCEU. That's not what it's called. Too late. It's been 4 years. Why didn't you tell us at the beginning?
Yeah, and everybody thought that they came up with that, but apparently fans made that up, and then everybody was calling it that, and then they went, no, that's not what it's called. It's like, nah, it's in the zeitgeist now, guys. Like,
too late. I don't know why you let it get out of control.
As far as new things that they're greenlighting in the first place, like the Babylon 5 reboot, like the 4400, which just started, and shows like that, I would imagine that if the CW gets sold, some of those things that aren't adaptations of anything, that aren't characters that Warner Brothers owns, that they wouldn't be able to sell outright, could possibly go with the package. I could see that, or I could see Warner's hanging onto them and making them HBO Max shows, or possibly even selling them off to other streaming services. So I would imagine that a lot of the programming outside of yeah, things like Walker, like they did a reboot of Walker Texas Ranger and just called it Walker because it's the CW and everything's cooler if it's one word.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
I would imagine that a lot of those things will probably stick around but be someplace else. And most of it probably HBO Max. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because it's interesting, A, that we might not have the CW in anything like the form it's in right now. B, the fact that it hasn't been profitable for all these years and that it was just a way to get Netflix to make a contract with them and give them a bunch of money explains everything, right? It explains everything. Like how it managed to keep all those shows on that nobody seemed to be watching, how Batwoman has gotten 3 seasons when, you know, I'm pretty sure that it has a viewership of 1 and that's Austin.
Yeah, Austin was very upset. He said in the chat, this better not mean that Batwoman and Riverdale are canceled.
Dimitri there in the comments says, this is not about what we're talking about right now, but I just thought this was a funny comment. He said, I accidentally clicked this notification while putting my phone in my pocket, and I had no idea where the Sonic Arm music was coming from. Dimitri's a big old school Sega fan. And he is one of the only people I know that is a Knights fan and likes Knights as well or better as I do. I've mentioned this before, but Dimitri has a Knights collection. And I think I will take this moment, since Dimitri commented, to show you guys
he's not as big of a fan as you.
The fight, yeah. Dimitri knows Knights better than I do and has more stuff than me, but he's not gotten it tattooed on his body permanently. I've got him there, but I have the final tattoo completely done now. It took 3 sessions, and my guy's actually gonna touch it up a little bit. He's a perfectionist, and apparently, like, it looks done to me, but apparently has a couple little tweaks he wants to make to it. But I'll go ahead and show you guys. It's essentially done. But here it is. Here is the finished. Let me see how well I can show you guys this. I have to move my microphone. Here is the completed Knights tattoo with the Idea orbs and the moon and everything. Look, it's all done. And it's huge. And it wraps all the way around my arm. And by the way, if you ever get a tattoo on the side of your arm, this hurts. This area, that's rough. Right here and right here. That's painful. Wow. But I got through it and it was worth it. And anyway, what do you think, DJ?
Oh, this has been Tattoo Tips with Captain Logan.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get it right here. Oh, that's crazy, man. It is massive. You're going to have to bulk up to fill it out.
You know, I've had that thought. It's like, I'm not muscular enough for this tattoo. No, I'm in better shape than I was a year ago, though. So, like, I'm glad I waited and got it now because I'm not as, I don't know. I'm not as weird about my body and stuff as I was before because self-conscious about it because I was like 35 pounds overweight and I'm in the best shape I've been in 10 years and so I don't think I would have gotten the tattoos a year ago. Like I feel so much better about the whole thing that like I don't know. I won't be weird like at the pool taking my shirt off and stuff. There was a time where I just wouldn't even do that because I felt so silly about what I looked like and stuff.
Oh, well, yeah, that's good, man. That's always good news that you're feeling better about yourself.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to apologize to folks that might be irritated that this has turned into a regular segment on this show.
Till the end of time. We're going to keep doing it, guys. It's going to be a monthly segment.
I did not intend for that to happen, but that segment today has to go on a little bit longer because I got another one. And let me explain real quick why this happened. So
It's not what Code Anime Fan says in the chat. Cap should get a tattoo of Eric's face. You should. That'd be amazing.
And this is the promo for Eric Holden's Neighborhood, just on my back or something. So I finally broached the topic with my mom because I wasn't sure how she would feel about the whole thing, and she came over one day and I showed her the couple of tattoos I'd gotten, and her response was super positive, and she's like, "Oh, those are great," and she goes, my mom just turned 60, and she goes, "For my birthday, I'm thinking about getting one." And she wanted to get a small one on her arm where I've got the Geevolution one, and So not being sure what it was going to be like, even telling my mom, turned into giving her a tattoo as her big birthday present. And I took her to the place I've been going and decided to go ahead and get one more just so that she wouldn't, just in case she was kind of nervous about it. Because the first time I went, it was kind of easier because I went with my sister-in-law and she got one along with me. So I was like, I should probably also get one with her while I go. So I got the Nightfall symbol on my other arm. And this could eventually turn into something even larger. I don't know yet, but I'm pretty happy with that one as well. So anyway, this has been Tattoo Talk with Cap, and now back to the lead-in topic. Evan Hartwig, I feel like if a corporate shuffling wasn't the thing to kill the Arrivers, these shows might have gone on forever. Yeah, I mean, even before the Arrowverse, it made no sense that Smallville was on for 10 years. And that was before you had the Netflix contract. I'm still not totally sure why or how that happened. And, like, Supernatural going on for 11 seasons.
Anime Fan put in a pre-written earlier. He says, which CW show do you hate the most?
It's a tie between Legends and Batwoman. If we're talking about just the superhero shows, I mean, I haven't watched a lot of their other programming. I haven't bothered with Riverdale and things like that, or the reboot of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Things I've heard are awful, and I've not watched. So I'm sure there are some other things there that I might, dislike and detest even more than some of the superhero shows. But
I haven't seen a single CW show except for Smallville. And that was like
your brain
halfway through.
Thanks you for it.
Oh, I'm such a fraud. What am I doing on this channel? This is for someone who likes Smallville. Well, I guess I've seen Smallville, so.
You would have only been a fraud if you were not. You wouldn't have been. I was just going to say you would have only been a fraud if you were back on the channel back in 2016 when we were actually covering all of those shows and reviewing every episode.
Crisis, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from that 6 years later. Silent Magician, according to Google, Disney Plus has around 118 million subscribers. I mean, if you think about the kind of massive pull that Disney has and some of the programming there with The Mandalorian and Marvel shows that they're never probably going to put on disc and stuff, where they're getting people with these huge franchises, kind of forcing them into a box where they have to subscribe. If I'm right about that number, and HBO Max has 78 or 80 versus 118 with Disney, they're not lagging that far behind.
No, that's great. Especially because Disney, you've got parents, lots and lots of parents who just have to have it forever because they just keep it for their kids.
Blue Dragon 5 Superman and Lois was basically a HBO Max show, if memory serves. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to when I was talking about that kind of marketing strategy. Like, it was only a CW show in the sense that because I think the idea was that Max actually put up the money for it, but they decided to keep it in that continuity. I keep wanting to say loosely, but they're not really contradicting anything after Crisis, I guess. But I think that was the right move because I really like that actor as Superman. And it turns out that their Lois is great if only she's got a decent script where she's not intentionally thrown under the bus just being, kind of a man-hating moron for no good reason, because that's what she was before. And now she's great. I really like her in that show.
That's what's so weird when you have these continuities. It's just like, oh, the character's not the character anymore. Oh, and then they're completely different in a different show.
And Blue Dragon 5 also makes a really good point when he says Flash is really getting ready to end anyway, and all the other shows have either petered out completely or ended, so this move isn't out of the realm of possibility based on that. Yeah, and very few people are going to miss that continuity. I mean, they've kind of just forced it to continue because that's been so much of their lineup. I mean, they've continued with 4 to 6 shows for all this time, and Crisis really should have been the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they just ended those shows, people that don't look at the behind-the-scenes stuff wouldn't even think anything of it. Like, they wouldn't be like, oh, the channel was sold. They would just be like, oh, yeah, the shows have been on for a while. They're probably wrapping up. Flash is wrapping up anyway, he says.
Yeah.
And then, so.
Or they'd be like, I recognize that I'm the only person that still watches these things. I mean, you remember when people were invested and well past when I was, because I thought the whole thing was kind of going to pot by middle of Arrow season 3, and a lot of people thought I was nuts, and they were still really into this stuff, and weren't having the continuity and motivation problems and things that I was having, and taking Legends kind of seriously and stuff, which I just couldn't bring myself to do, and now it doesn't seem like hardly anybody is, certainly nobody I know is talking about these things anymore. At one time, this stuff was so popular. I mean, I don't want to say that it was rivaling Marvel, but I do think that there were people that were as invested as they were in MCU, and it was getting ahead of MCU in some things, especially with interdimensional crossover and all of that, and that was really exciting to people, and some of that certainly valid that it was exciting to people, and some of it was to me as well. And DJ, at one time it was so popular that it was really influencing superhero culture outside of those shows. I mean, you had a lot of Flash characters suddenly showing up in video games and more often in comics and things that Flash characters especially, but also stuff with Arrow and things that never would have if it weren't for that stuff. Like you had TV show specific skins of Arrow and Flash in the first Injustice and things like that. Like, these shows have continued to stick around. You're not seeing that kind of cross-platform.
That's crazy. Imagine if the Smallville had skins in video games. They would look horrendous. First of all.
Yeah, absolutely they would. It was probably a mercy that was a superhero show in name only, right? Like,
yeah, Green Arrow's sunglasses costume.
Well,
actually,
I like that
like
suit. You could have done something cool with that suit. I will stick by the Justin Hartley suit. It was nice that we got a real full-blown costume with that. And then once you get to Absolute Justice,
Cyborg and Aquaman and stuff.
Oh no, those were dumb. And of course they weren't full-blown costumes. But then you did Absolute Justice, and with the Justice Society, and you had kind of the precursor to all of the CW costumes. Some of them looked better than a lot of the CW costumes ever did, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm just glad we got away from hoodies and sunglasses for everybody. It's like, that's not a costume. Why is that the go-to?
It's like, just because Clark Kent can't put a costume doesn't mean nobody else can.
Yeah, nobody else has super speed.
Remember Impulse?
No. And I'm glad I don't. What is...
Well, they introduced Bart Allen in season 4, and I liked that actor a lot. He was great. And then they had this.
How young he was.
DC had this bizarre embargo for reasons I don't remember now, where they wouldn't allow, once they started doing code names for their superheroes, they wouldn't allow him to be called Flash, even though there were all these Flash references in his first episode. And then when he finally takes on a superhero name, he's Impulse.
What a terrible name.
Well, and I mean, Impulse is a DC speedster character.
Okay.
But he wasn't Bart Allen.
Impulse. That just reminds me of, like, someone who eats at Wendy's or something.
It sounds like a streaming service, I think. Cap, you remember when the CW shows were cool, Professor Zoom? I do. And I think they stopped being cool quicker than a lot of other people did. But, I don't mean to say I told you so, but...
Well, we've got some super chats about the topic, or related to.
Well, let's knock them out, shall we, sir? And by the way, thanks everybody for being here tonight. I hope you're having a good time. Thanks for showing up live, and thanks for watching this after the fact if you're doing that as well. Here comes a super chat.
All right, coming at you. It's not as related as I originally thought, but Super Billy, $5. Speaking of,
I will take the curveball, sir. I can hit those.
Okay, yeah. He's just gonna put the Knights tattoo right in the front and just knock it out.
And then just Okay, but yeah, there we go. I was like, for a second, I was like, wait, if I'm a right-handed hitter, can you see? Yes, you can. Okay.
It's either that or the bat symbol. Either way. Oh man. Speaking of baffling financial creative decisions made by Warner Brothers,
yeah.
Thoughts? See, he even gave a segue to make it match. So,
nicely done.
On the upcoming Flash solo film rebooting the DCEU, and then he has a part 2 with Supergirl and Batgirl replacing Superman and Batman, along with Keaton's Bruce Wayne serving as a Nick Fury-esque figure.
So we always knew the Nick Fury thing was bandied about from the very beginning, that Michael Keaton's Batman was supposed to be the old superhero character that ties everything together and is recruiting. Because DJ, enough of these movies haven't already enough been about team building.
Well, we built a whole team, and now we got to build a different one. None of those ones are in this one.
I counted this up at one point, and I can't remember what it is now, but the number of DCEU movies that are let's go build a team movies is staggering. It's preposterous.
I've got your next parody. It's let's go build a team. It's a Mary Poppins song. Actually, I think it was a song before. Is that from Mary Poppins?
No, that's from Mary Poppins. Yeah, okay. Let's Go Fly a Kite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was written by whatever those guys are named. I don't remember anymore. I used to know that. But anyway, so 2 of the 3 Snyder movies are team-building movies. Man of Steel wasn't, and then BVS is building Justice League, and then Justice League is also building Justice League. And then Suicide Squad does it, and of course, The Suicide Squad does it, which is kind of fair. But then Birds of Prey was that, and yeah, they're the only ones that aren't are, and I'm saying DCU specifically, not stuff like Joker, but like the only ones that aren't are things like Shazam. But I guess even that
has a team of Shazams
at the end. But at least the whole thing isn't recruiting.
It's true. That all happens at the end rather quickly.
So yeah, the Nick Fury thing we've known for a long time. It hasn't been news to me when Warner's is like, hey, Michael Keaton is also going to be in this other movie. Like when he was announced for Batgirl, I was like, that's not shocking. They said he was supposed to be the Nick Fury thing. I only just today heard about the Batgirl and Supergirl replacing Batman and Superman thing. I kind of want to hold off talking about that too much until we see what it really means, because I'm not totally sure what to make of that. I won't be that surprised if the idea is for the DCEU, we're introducing these new female characters and they're basically going to take the place of those characters and sort of wear those mantles, but in female form, because we don't have a Batman and Superman in that world anymore besides Michael Keaton. And also, the Batman is probably going to be huge, and so they'll have a Batman franchise that's not in the DCEU. Boy, DJ,
yes. Please don't connect that. That looks so good. I'm excited about that. It's the first time I'm excited about a DC movie in a long time. Yeah. Please don't drag that in if it's successful. Just let that be its own thing. Please, Warners.
I hope they don't. And even if they have to do the multiverse thing at some point and have him cross in with things, I hope that it's like, one movie where a bunch of stuff all crosses over and then they all forget about it later. Like, if they have to do it, I hope they just get it out of their system and it's not all their movies, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me if that's what they're doing. I don't know if it'll work. I think a lot of people will just be irritated that we can't have Batman and Superman along with Batgirl and Supergirl. I mean, I love those characters. I want to be excited about Batgirl and Supergirl, really, finally being in or getting their own movies.
It's really weird about Batgirl. That's gonna be really weird without Batman. And Supergirl can at least be doing her own thing. I know that it's cool when they team up and they get together sometimes with Batgirl. That seems weird.
Yeah, well, and I'm never going to get what I want because they've already botched up Birds of Prey, but, I don't even care about Barbara Gordon as Batgirl as much as I do Oracle, and I'm never going to get that, probably. Unless the Batman at some point does it. Because, like, anything that I would have wanted from the DCEU with Batman, I can say, well, maybe this other franchise that's going its own, hopefully totally will do that. But, DJ, there's a part of me that wishes that we would just disband the DCEU thing entirely and totally start over. Having to... and I've talked about this a lot, but being stuck still with the remnants of this shared universe that never really worked and never came together and still can't even decide what counts and what's canonical and what isn't, it's really irritating, and it bogs these movies down too much. And the ones that have worked are the ones that pretty much ignore it, or where the continuity doesn't really matter. Things like Shazam, where they can go, Superman exists in this world, and he was played by Cavill, and that's all that matters and all you need to know, and we're not going to reference anything specific. That stuff is fine. When you get to things like The Suicide Squad, which is already a soft reboot of a movie that just came out 4 or 5 years ago, and that's a good movie. It's not really my cup of tea, but I get why people love it, and I think it's solid. That feels like, it's having its cake and eating it too, where it doesn't want to deal too much with that previous movie, but it kind of counts. And like Aquaman has exactly that problem. That's not a team-building movie, exactly.
No. There we go. We found one.
It's also an entire season of television in one movie, but it's not a team-building film.
No, there's that whole scene in Aquaman where they have to be like, hey, remember this, what we did in Justice League? And let's talk about that for a little bit, and then they go back to the movie, and it's really awkward and weird just because he was in that Justice League movie.
If you would use, because what's his face playing Flash, help me out, Ezra Miller, he came out recently and said we're not restarting anything in Flash, and he has always been a big proponent of the Snyder stuff. He was on that, I think, release the Snyder Cut bandwagon, if memory serves. And the way he was talking about it was nothing can pave over what Zack Snyder did, which honestly doesn't, to me, necessarily mean that they're not somewhat flashpointing things in the Flash movie. And, like, maybe they're not. But first of all, lately, with things like No Way Home, we've had actors just coming right out and flat out lying because they're told to do that by producers and studio execs. Where you've got Holland just having to flat out say, no, those other actors aren't in this movie. Oh wait, they were. I forgot I filmed with them.
It was all green screen, guys. I never filmed with them.
That might be true. He might not have ever actually been in the same room with them. It looks like he is in the school. At least that scene, it looks like they must have all been there, but... Yeah, that scene. But every other scene is just like, cut to him, and cut to the other person, and cut to the other person, and we're just talking. But I was suspicious when he said nothing can pave over the Snyder movies. Because that just sounds like kind of fanboy speak for these are great and they'll always matter. Not, we're not getting away from that continuity. So who knows? I mean, I still think it's possible. But if they're not doing that, I think that's a mistake. I think they should be doing that. And I think they should allow for the possibility of a new Batman and Superman to come in. I think this whole thing will backfire on them. Even if the movies are decent, I think people are going to be really frustrated that there's not a Batman and Superman, and in their place is a Batgirl and Supergirl. And I think they're chancing, looking like they're trying to force looking progressive on people. Where it's like,
you don't have to necessarily make Batman and Superman movies if you don't want to, but you don't have to act like they're not there and replace them.
Yeah, and that might not be their motivation. It might not be, well, we have to get rid of the men so that we look like we're hip to current politics and stuff. But I am worried that that's what it'll look like to people if they do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at least they still have Flash and Aquaman and other people. I think there's just this weird thing with Batman and Superman where it's either all we get or they can't make it. It's like he couldn't be Superman in Smallville, and we couldn't get a Batman show for the longest time. We fluctuate up and down. It's like a yo-yo diet with Batman and Superman.
Well, we're so lucky we were even ever allowed to do a live-action Superman in CW, and that he has his own show now. It's so bizarre that all happens, Let me backtrack for a second and just say that a minute ago what I was trying to say is I am worried that even if it's not pandery, it will look like they're being kind of pandery. I think that that's one of the things that has really killed the CW shows is this like intentional political pandering. It's not worked out for them. I think the DCEU needs to be really careful about that. But I think it's really bizarre, DJ, that Superman got to actually be in that world and get his own show. Meanwhile, they're like straight up killing off a Batman that we never saw in the Batwoman side. Do you know about that?
No. I don't know anything about this show.
I don't think we've talked about this on the live show yet, but assuming that the CW getting put up for sale doesn't change this, because again, they're saying business as usual right now. They're supposed to be spinning off from an unsuccessful show, another show that's Gotham Knights, which is like that video game where that's coming out, where Batman is dead and all of his sidekicks are on a team together, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, if we could have, I don't understand why if we were allowed to have a live-action if we were allowed to have Superman in those shows, we couldn't also do it with Batman. I don't get that. And at the same time as they did that, you still had Henry Cavill in movies. It's bizarre.
I have no idea. I'm just looking forward to the Batman. I'm not counting on them getting their ducks in a row anytime soon.
The whole thing is just 8 shades of bizarre. Writer, replacing Batman and Superman with Batgirl and Supergirl will not work. I tend to line up with that. I tend to think that is probably the case. I guess we'll see. I mean, if they're just wonderfully executed and it's easy to, if they're wonderfully executed and it's easy to not even think about Batman and Superman because those characters are just that great. There's an outside ballpark chance it could work. But I guess the other thing that could help it is, well, you have a decent Superman show on, and the Batman might be huge. So it's like, well, we have them in other continuities. But
yeah, that might be what they're thinking. I mean,
but I don't know if that's enough, man. Like, because it'll just feel totally incomplete, and it kind of screams like, look, we screwed up with the way we treated these actors and with what Snyder did with these characters, and so now we're just isn't that so bizarre? We're in 2016. Batman versus Superman is going to make more money, they think, than anything that's ever happened. It's the hugest, most important event. 6-7 years later, can you guys like pretend like Batman and Superman just were never a thing, and we'll replace them with the female versions, and like, is that okay? Can we please stop talking about Batman and Superman?
It just became the Snyderverse, which is so unfortunate for them. Not that that's like, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that like it, but yeah, you don't want that's the whole thing. That's Marvel's thing, is that it feels like the Marvel universe. It doesn't feel like any of their directors. And that's a problem on the Marvel side, where like directors don't have any say. It all feels like one thing, and they had the complete opposite problem. It all, even the movies that he didn't do, he was like rubbing off on those movies. Like, that's so weird how that happened.
And I don't know if you'll agree with this, DJ, because I know the multiverse thing doesn't appeal to you, but what DC, and I've said this before, but what DC should have done in the first place was just made a bunch of movies in different either in different continuities, or made it not clear whether they were in the same continuity, and it doesn't matter. And then you have the chance with as many different kinds of styles and things as you want to do, right? And then when you finally decide to put things together, you can, because obviously they were just trying to beat Marvel at their own game, so they rushed it. But what they should have done was 5 or 10 years of movies where they could all be in the same universe, or they could be in different universes, or it could be a little bit of both. And then you do eventually a crossover movie that's either all in the same universe or a multiverse, because DC always did multiversal stuff. And that's not what Marvel was about, and that's how you separate yourself apart. It is, as in my mind, ridiculous that DC couldn't get in front of Marvel with multiverse, as it is that Marvel couldn't get in front of DC with female-led superhero movie.
It's nuts that they cranked out that Spider-Man movie so fast. I bet you DC is furious. Like, we've been working on this stupid Flash movie for like 5 years, and you guys just crank out a Spider-Man movie in a year and a half?
And you cannot tell me that wasn't part of the motivation for it.
Yeah.
Call me a conspiracy nut. I don't believe that there wasn't business behind that. Recently, and I'm sure somebody has either mentioned this already in Super Chats or was going to, but Feige recently...
Yeah, we got a lot of Super Chats to get to.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that pretty soon. I was thinking when that there wasn't enough meat in this as a lead-in topic, and it's turned into 45 minutes. Plus tattoos. But a couple days ago, it was revealed that, and it turns out I was totally wrong about this, that Sony was not to blame, apparently, or applaud, depending on how you feel about it, for the multiversal thing happening in Spider-Verse and the other two Spider-Man from other franchises coming in. That looked like a big business move to me from their side, where they had to make a big deal out of, no, these are our movies, not just MCU. And apparently that wasn't the case. Apparently they were supposed to have an after-credit scene in whatever movie they were actually making, which at one time was supposed to be a Craven movie, and that didn't end up happening, obviously. An after-credit scene that would bring in characters from the other movies, and that was supposed to be a big mind freak. Like, oh, we're doing this. You know, this is going to be our first glimpse of the multiverse. And the Multiverse of Madness would give us more of it. Yeah. And Feige went, oh, that's a cool idea. Let's make the entire movie that. Just because he said that doesn't mean that it wasn't partly motivated by the fact that DC is doing Multiverse in Flash. Are you with me on this, DJ? Like, you can't tell me that they're not thinking about that.
Well, especially if it's Feige. I mean, he's in all that stuff. Like, he's looking at DC. Their competition. That's crazy to me that Feige wanted to do that. That kind of gives me worries that he's not so confident in the MCU going forward. If he felt like they needed to pull that shoot already, like bring in the other guys, bring in the other Spider-Man. We need a big hit right here. Like, that's a little scary. I never would have thought it was a Feige idea.
I wouldn't have either, but I also don't know how much that has to do with, and you could be right, but I don't know how much of it has to do with his lack of confidence in the MCU moving forward, and how much of it was they're just kind of going by the seat of their pants with the Spider-Man franchise specifically, where they get to the end of that second movie and they're like, let's out him as Spider-Man. That'll be dramatic, right?
Yeah, it's annoying that they have no plan with those.
I don't actually know where we're going to go with that.
Like, if you're going to crank those out every 2 years, you need to have a plan. Like, that
even if it's a broad plan, at least write toward an ending. And if you're going to play it as a trilogy at all, at least write toward an ending.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. I don't want to get depressed. As I drink from my horribly costumed Spider-Man cup.
Why do you even have that? You hated that. You
my
just
wife
like
gets
that
one of
movie
these
so much.
Every time we go to the movies.
Oh,
she
okay.
gets a Coke Icy, and it's like 30 cents more to get the fancy cup. That's why I have all these cups. All right.
Yeah, and you've got to hang on to it and drink out of it because it's a $90 cup.
T-Edge 1, $5. The year
Thanks, man.
is 2033. Oh. Hold on. I feel like I'm in like a noir or something. Like a sci-fi noir. T-Edge 1, the year.
He just leaves Super Chats to start monologuing non-existent films.
He's trying to get me like some practice for my resume. The year is 2033. Batman and Superman are now in the public domain. Do you write a story based on Detective Comments number 27?
Wait, did he say that, or was that a mistake you made talking?
No, he typed comments.
Yes, Detective Comments.
Detective Comments. That's the name of the new name of the show. Detective Comments number 27. Batman.
We should have a show called Detective Comments.
So, do you write a story based on Detective Comics number 27, Batman, or Action Comics number 1, Superman?
Ooh, that's interesting. First of all,
question.
I don't think there's any possible way that Warner Brothers doesn't come up with
a loophole to keep
some kind of way to make sure that doesn't go in public domain. Apparently, Winnie the Pooh is now in public domain. Did you read about that?
It's up for, I think Disney's going to change the laws again or whatever. But it is, it's time. I heard that.
See, that sounds, when you say it like that, it sounds so outrageous and hyperbolic, except it doesn't at all, right? You're like, Disney will change the law. Like,
I think they. I mean,
no,
that's what
they
Dale
will.
thought about.
Absolutely, yeah. These giant, massive corporations don't have to play by the rules. I don't mean to get political, but like clearly, these things seem to be somewhat outside the law to some degree. Anyway, I think I would probably go in the Superman direction because I think it would be really interesting to write. And great question, by the way. I think it would be a lot of fun to go back to the well with Superman and write the kind of street level Crusader version that you don't see very often, that we kind of got for a little bit with New 52 with Morrison. That would be really appealing to me to go back to. Detective 27 is more or less what Batman is now, which is what's so wonderful about it, that we got kind of back to that. But the original Superman, we haven't really seen in a long time. And I mean, even what Morrison was doing wasn't exactly that. But like, it would be fun to, strip down the powers and make him more of a social crusader and all of that. And I also think that all of that's pretty apt and worth doing again now, of all times. So yeah, it would be fun to try to write a story based on that, a number two of that of sorts.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Another one from TH1 for $2. Cobra Kai Season 4 in the pipeline. Awesome show, guys. Man, they cranked that season out fast. I feel like Season 3 just came out. Maybe I'm just out of the loop. It feels like that was really quick.
It does. Because of COVID, like with so many things, it was actually put off for a while. It should have been put out a few months ago.
I have no semblance of time anymore.
I will likely do something on that. I'm not sure yet. When I did Season 3, there wasn't a ton of interest, but if I can carve out some time, I may shoot something short on it. Probably not a live thing, probably not a spoiler cast, a full-on spoiler cast. I don't know yet, or I might just give my real brief thoughts, 5 or 10 minutes on this show, if anybody happens to ask about it. I don't know yet. I am, 3 episodes away from the end of that season, I think. I've been watching it with Jason. I think it's mediocre so far, but I may feel better about it by the end. I feel like they're kind of out of ideas, and that's one of those shows, DJ, that stuck around because it's been surprisingly popular.
Yeah, super popular. I'm not coming back until Hilary Swank makes an appearance.
That's what Jason says he wants. We finally watched The Next Karate Kid. He's like, can we get her? She is so weird in that movie. Have you ever gone back to it?
Not since I was a kid.
I've never seen a character arc like this, where you have a character who is really whiny and obnoxious and entitled, and then goes through the obligatory character arc where she has to learn discipline and responsibility and to look out for other people, and then suddenly she's not obnoxious anymore. The actress, when she is the entitled jerkface version, is a horrible actress in the first half of that movie, or the first quarter. And then when Mr. Miyagi turns her around, she turns into a decent actress.
That's amazing.
Like, Swank herself goes through an acting arc in that movie.
It's either she's a brilliant actress and she added that in the beginning to make you like her character less and it was intentional, or she's just not good at acting like a terrible person and she's good at acting like a good person.
Yeah, her line readings were the worst. I was telling Jason 10 minutes in, I was like, this isn't good enough for Power Rangers. And
That's
then
interesting.
There's a scene that made me feel something in the third act, between a really touching scene between her and Miyagi, and I was like, oh, she's suddenly an actress.
Yeah, she's a good actress and other things. It's interesting because that's got to be true. Like, if you're a super nice person, it's going to be hard to act like a jerk for a little bit until you get used to it.
That's true, but to have zero believable natural line readings where it's just like, oh, this person just can't act. And I also can't remember ever seeing that where someone can play really dramatic scenes wonderfully. But the scenes where they're just kind of hissing at people, they're god-awful.
That's an interesting movie. I like the whole, like, hanging out with the monks thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool spin.
No, it's great. And I would think that I would hate the bit where the monks, like, come over and like, live at her house for a while and just hang out, but that stuff's all really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's way better than Turtles 3, where the Japanese guys are
I
hanging
was thinking that the whole time! That is not... It's an uneven movie, but it's not awful. There's some good stuff. Honestly, I think overall
it has better than any fourth movie in a mediocre franchise.
In the 90s, especially. Yeah. I think it's as good as Karate Kid 3, which I don't think is a great movie.
Oh, yeah. Which is what they brought in. They brought in Silva this season, right? That's the whole thing?
Yes. And
okay. I don't understand. If they can make that great, good for them, but it's going to be difficult.
I'm very mixed on it. I think he's doing okay. I think they think he's really intimidating.
Does he still have a ponytail?
And he's really not. Well, they make that a whole part of his character arc.
Oh my goodness.
Where like his ponytail signifies like the man he really is, and he's been like hiding from himself from all these years while he's like this rich guy just on an island like sipping expensive drinks. And then when he goes back to karate, he finds himself again. What's really weird is,
and he grows a ponytail real fast. Like
no, he's got long hair, but he just doesn't put it in a ponytail, right? Like it's just out and it's on the sides. But here's what's really interesting: I actually like this. The production knows that he doesn't look like himself if he doesn't have his hair in a ponytail. Like, that actor does not look like that character until he does that, and then when he puts it up in a ponytail, like, holy crap, there he is! There's the guy!
Yeah, well, those guys are they're so particular about that stuff. Like, there was like they talk about how they had like episodes and episodes before they finally let him put his hands in his belt. I can't remember his name right now. The other guy, the Cobra Kai guy from the original movie.
Yeah, Kreese.
Yeah, Kreese. Yeah, so they're like very particular about the iconography of that show, and they're super fans, which is why those first seasons are so good, because they just are so into that stuff.
Well, and I know you dropped off 3. At some point, finish it, because I'm telling you, it gets good. There are some ridiculous, unbelievable things that you kind of have to look past a little bit, but I think in 2 it had already to some degree turned into a little bit of a cartoon show anyway. Like, it's not a realistic show, right?
It wasn't. It's not like I got to 3 and I was like, oh, this is crazy.
Like it jumped the shark.
It was like a steady. I was like, am I still liking this? Maybe not, but I'm sure I'll finish it.
It gets fun. You've got to at least go back to. I mean, I don't mean to pressure you, but I think you would enjoy it if you went back to it at the very least to see the girlfriend from those movies come back, because she's awesome. Okay.
I just got to a point where I hated the good guys of that show so much.
That's fair.
Like, why am I supposed to like these guys? So hopefully they can turn me around.
I'm so done with watching Daniel LaRusso teach people to wax on, wax off. Like, I'm so done with it. Like, every other episode, it's like... And you know what else I'm tired of with that show? I'm just reviewing that show now. You know what else I'm sick of with Cobra Kai? That show thinks I'm so stupid, because not only is it constantly flashing back to the Karate Kid movies, I mean, I've seen Sweep the Leg 900 times now. Ugh. And just them, like, facing off in that scene, like, over and over and over again. Not only does it keep constantly flashing back to the moments from the show itself, but it also will introduce a character in an episode, and then that character will become relevant 15 minutes later, and it will feel the need to, in 90s Spider-Man cartoon fashion, flash back to what you just saw 10 minutes ago in case you're not sure who they're talking about. I'm not an idiot! I'm paying attention to your show! Stop it!
I hate when things do that. Like, I love Amazing Spider-Man, but when they do that, like, when he pulls the thing and it shows the tattoo and it's like, he's got a star tattooed on his right, and it flashes back to like 20 minutes ago in the movie. I'm like, I remember what he said. You don't have to show me. I hate when movies do that.
Cobra Kai Season 4 does I just had this thought, it does a training montage it does the Rocky IV training montage, and it's Cobra Kai season 4. I'm sure that was intentional, and it brings back the song from that movie.
Oh my gosh. We're just doing nostalgia. We ran out of movies, so we're just doing nostalgia from other movies.
Other 80s movies, but it's hilarious. Especially because, and I don't mean to give away too much about that show, but especially because it's a fight that Johnny Lawrence has decided he's going to get into with LaRusso. And LaRusso has decided that he's not going to do it. So they have this scene where LaRusso's like, yeah, I'm not going to fight him again. They've fought like 19 times in the show. And he's like, yeah, I'm done with that. I'm not doing that again. And then the very next scene is Johnny Lawrence doing a Rocky IV montage for a fight that the other guy has decided is not going to happen. And I think that's really funny.
Oh, man.
It's pretty great.
We should just, I'll just watch that so we can talk about it, because I think we'd have fun talking about it. All right, where should we go? What's the next one? CM Productions. $5 donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What is your ranking? Oh, I love ranking. Let's rank things, Cap. What is your ranking of all the 2021 MCU projects? Sorry if this has already been asked. Could only pop in for a moment.
Okay, ranking
Can't
of
wait
what again?
To watch the show. Rank all of the 2021 MCU projects, which is a lot.
That should. Oh, okay. So not just movies, but all. Okay, I don't know if we have the time or the ability to really organize this, because I would have to get out paper and pencil or something and get it all jotted out. Do you want to try it?
I'm looking at.
Just real quick.
I'm looking at someone posted this exact thing, Christian Ogden, in the Superhero Screen Society. So I'm just looking at that post real quick to get them all in order. But that was all superhero things, so I'll just knock out the couple DC things. But I did not see them all, so I can't rank them all.
I have seen almost everything, but I haven't finished Hawkeye.
Okay. Well, I can go first. I only saw 6, and that'll. You want me to just go ahead and list them all, or do you think you know them?
Yeah. Could you maybe? Well, I was gonna say send me that link, but I can pull that up, and then it'll just be easier for us to rank it if I'm looking at it. But yeah, feel free to go first.
Okay. So my ranking, I've only seen 6. I did not see Loki. I watched one episode of Loki. I watched one episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I did not finish those. And I watched one episode of What If, and I did not finish that either. But I saw all the films.
That is fair.
So my ranking would be Shang-Chi, Eternals, WandaVision. I did see WandaVision. I did see all of Hawkeye. Hawkeye's great. My number 4.
How far down is this post?
It is
in the superhero in the Screen Society. I'm not finding it.
It's from Christian Ogden. It's December 31st. He didn't actually see them all, so I'm looking at Connor's comments, responding to him, because Connor sees everything.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks for being on top of this thing before you knew it was going to matter for us.
He has the full list, but
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I would, and I'm actually reading my own reply from the post. I would say, yeah, Shang-Chi, Eternals, WandaVision, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Spider-Verse. Those are the only ones I saw. Or No Way Home, excuse me.
That is a totally fair forwarding a slip.
Yeah, I did not see Venom, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, or What If. Those are the 4 I didn't see.
I'll just see if I can pull up a list of these real quick. Okay.
But I've not heard good things about any of those 4, so I don't know if I'm gonna.
Oh wait, you could just Google it. You haven't heard good things about which 4?
The 4 that I haven't seen, which are Falcon and Winter Soldier, Venom 2, Loki, and What If.
Oh, I thought we were just ranking MCU stuff.
That's true. Sorry. We can leave off Venom. But hey, technically, Venom is in an MCU movie. Oh, no, Venom's not. Tom Hardy's in an MCU movie for 10 seconds and then drops a piece of goo.
Yep. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Neither do I.
It's one of the dumbest, laziest things I've ever. Anyway, No Way Home. Okay, so I feel like I'm missing one. No Way Home, WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, Falcon Winter Soldier, Black Widow, What If, Eternals. What am I missing?
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, that's right. Okay. Boy, can I do this real quick?
Put you on the spot. CM Production.
So yeah, I'm not gonna rank Hawkeye yet because I haven't finished it. But everything else I have. This is really difficult for me because I didn't just love anything. I guess Eternals has to go to the top. I was real positive on that.
Yeah, it's a tough year to do this.
What is that?
I have a harder time ranking things I don't like than things I do, because it's just like I don't know which one I would watch again. Probably none.
It feels real arbitrary, right? Where it's like, I can rank these things because I loved them, but this is like slightly a little cooler than this, is slightly a little cooler than this, and then everything else that you just didn't care for, it's like, drop that all in a dumpster. Like,
yeah, it's like I don't want to see any of that stuff. Like, well, I guess the good thing is you can put movies above shows, because it's like, do I want to watch a 2-hour movie, or do I want to watch a 12-hour show?
That's true, but it's not necessarily fair to the show.
If you don't like it.
Yeah, so Eternals is, I guess, at the top for me, and then it's...
Yeah, Eternals is great.
What was the one that I didn't say a minute ago? Shang-Chi, okay. So it's... God, I honestly don't know if I can do this right now just on the spot, and we should move on in a second, but I'm going to make the attempt. So it's, I guess, Eternals and then WandaVision, because overall I liked that a lot, even though the ending I've got issues with, which I can say about other Disney Plus things too. But yeah, so it's Where did you put Shang-Chi in your list? Is it at the top?
It is. I like Shang-Chi,
I know you like that.
and Eternals pretty close, but I just edged it out. And WandaVision is my number 3, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's right up there.
Maybe Shang-Chi is next for me too. I feel weird about that because it's Loki before it's Shang-Chi, I think. And then, and I'm sure Hawkeye would be in there somewhere probably, because I'm liking that quite a bit so far, but I'm not very far in. So I don't know, maybe at some point that really drops off. But then I guess after that it's...
It's the hardest question we've ever got.
Sorry, yeah, this is really rough. Black Widow is just dull and kind of nothing to me. So it's Shang-Chi after Loki, so that's 4. And then, God, as much as I really ripped apart No Way Home, that might be next, honestly.
It's not a great year.
Because Falcon Winter Soldier, I don't like. The first couple episodes are okay, but then I think they're ruined by the rest of it. So yeah, then after that I guess it's Black Widow, and is What If at the bottom? I don't know. I can't really do this.
There it is, guys. You got it.
Yeah. I don't feel great about that ranking, but okay, let's keep going.
We'll have to do it eventually for Marvel Mania Phase 3, so we'll get an official one later.
I am so surprised you're saying that, because I keep waiting for the message from you where it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that show anymore.
Hey, it might not be me. It might switch to another co-host. Like I said, there's like so many things, 4 things this year I couldn't bring myself to watch. So, and one of them that I did watch that I really don't want to watch again. So we'll see. Thomas Ledbetter, another $5 donation. How might the film industry change? Oh, that's interesting. How might the film industry change if, in an alternate reality, Endgame was the last MCU film? How might your opinions change on said film in this case?
Interesting.
Well, I'll tell you how the film industry would change. It would have had 30% less profits. I have this graph right here. It's a very sad, amazing graph. Spider-Man No Way Home made 13% of all movies this year, and other Marvel films made 17%. So 30%, excuse me, 20%. Is that 20%? Yeah. 20% of all films, the green and the red and the blue, is just Marvel movies.
That's great.
Insane.
In the long term,
yeah,
I think what happens is Warner's immediately greenlights 12 superhero movies a year.
It's our time. Yeah, they'd be jumping on it, but they still wouldn't be successful at it.
I think the thing that we were seeing a few years ago, and we're still seeing this to some degree, but where everybody and his dog was trying to create a giant shared universe, I think that comes back. Where you see every major film company that's not Disney like clamoring to make that happen. I think Disney works harder to get Star Wars back in movie theaters faster. Because
that's all they have.
Now that's their big shared universe, and their success is on Disney Plus, and they've got to get.
Well, yeah. What happened to Disney Plus?
The piece of that pie bag.
He was asking the film industry, so it's not directly related. But Disney Plus is completely different if they don't have all those MCU shows first year and second year.
And then I think a bunch of companies try to fill that void because they go, the superhero movies at DC are some of them are doing okay, but they're not as huge as MCU. So we might be able to like carve out our slice of that and replace more of that than Warner's can do by themselves. And then after about 5 years of that, I think other kinds of movies finally start performing in the movie theater again.
Yeah, I like your answer because it's not like optimistic, super happy, where it's like, oh, if MCU goes away, we suddenly get all of these art house and lesser known films getting recognition. No, the studios would cram something else out.
No, I don't think that would happen.
Depressing, but it's probably true.
That's a great question.
That's a cool question. I like that question a lot. I like the questions that make us think.
We are an hour in. We are going to continue on into a second hour. And DJ, he knows what I'm going to do. How many super chats?
13, sir. I'm going to beat
left?
you.
He got me to the punch. Oh, he knows the formula.
Oh, right back into it, man. We're not rusty at all. We're doing
I'm a
great.
Smallville episode. He knows the formula. This one's got all the stuff to count, man. We've got a Crypto Freak. We've got a rude super speed exit. We've got convenient unconsciousness. We've got everything.
Oh man, we've got Jonathan Taylor Thomas coming back again.
That's not part of the regular episodic formula.
It should be. He should have kept returning.
What, you wanted him to just take over the show?
Yeah.
He comes in, murders Pete Ross, and then duplicates of himself become a main. Wouldn't it be great if Jonathan Taylor Thomas is a regular in Smallville, and when you see his name in the opening credits, there's like 5 of him. Or no, I guess you can only make a second duplicate, right? But or like one duplicate. But there's 2 of him just looking at each other. Yeah, it's with his name underneath it.
It's like the Power Rangers opening scene where they have the actor on this side and the costume on this side, except it's just both him.
It's just 2 Jonathan Taylor Thomases. And then they forevermore have Lex Luthor on Black Kryptonite, and they do the same thing with him when there's an evil Lex and a good... And just in every episode of that show, I am the villain of the story.
That's just his catchphrase. He's just saying that to the people on the street, and they're like, what are you talking about?
Rosenbaum has gone on record to say that that's the thing at cons that people will not stop incessantly asking him to say.
Ugh, that would be so annoying. No offense to the fans, but I would be really annoyed if I had to keep saying the same line over and over and over.
Yeah, he was asked once, like, okay, a lot of actors have that thing where people are always asking him to say, like, do you have that with Lex? He's like, yep, I am the villain of the story.
Like, if it was like a joke line, it would be so much better, but like that's a serious, like, dramatic line. Do they expect him to like get back into that scene character-wise and like say it like that? Because that would be really awkward and uncomfortable to have to do.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what the line should be.
All right, Thomas Ledbetter. Oh, wait, this is a different one. Thomas Low 86. Excuse me. We have so many Thomases. We have lots of Thomases in this group. I think I can think of 3 offhand.
And we were just talking about Tom Welling too.
Yeah, it's a popular name. It's like Dan's. Tom's and Dan's.
Tom's and Dan's.
Can't get away from in this channel. It's unfortunate that Smallville version superhero don't get their spin-off show. Oh, so you're talking about the like Arrow and Aquaman and those guys.
Yeah, and that's and I know this isn't the question you asked. I'll talk about that, but that's an interesting thing to consider too. The whole, what if history changed if we were in like an alternate universe? They could have
had the Arrowverse like 5-6 years earlier. That would have been crazy.
Well, no. Well, actually, no. You're absolutely right about that. They could have had those spin-offs while Smallville was still on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
but there was talk about it even as Smallville was ending, and then immediately after that, you had an Arrow show starring a character that was in Smallville, but not Justin Hartley's. And a lot of people were really disappointed that in 2011, after Smallville ended, we didn't have the announcement of the Justin Hartley show. And I never agreed with that. I get why people wanted it in season 6, 7, 8. When you get to the end of that show, the continuity is so convoluted and bogged down and retconny. It's like the Arrowverse now. Like, there's a reason that they've had, and it's ridiculous that they had this in reverse order, but there's a reason that we've had in Arrowverse both Flashpoint and Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that continuity is broken, and they keep having to restart things and then break it again. Smallville absolutely had that problem.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want an Arrow show that starts when your Green Arrow has already seen like zombies and Darkseid or Doomsday or one of those two, and he's been in too much stuff. How do you go back to the streets after that?
Well, it's sort of like trying to do a Superman show based on Smallville after he's already fought most of his villains. Like, the whole season 11 thing was hilarious, and happily Brian Q. Miller and the guys working on that book knew how ridiculous it was, so they really steered into that, and that's why that book was fun and kind of worked. Like, they were real self-aware. Like, they knew that show was not good, and they just went, okay, here's what it was, but we're not going to take ourselves so relentlessly seriously anymore. But if that wouldn't work on TV, though, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a shame that they didn't spin it off and then end Smallville. There was a time where it could have worked. Absolutely.
That would have been insane. So, 2001, the show starts. Season 5 is when the Justice League episode happens, right?
6.
So that's like 2006 or season 6?
That's 6. Season 6 is where that happens.
Which would be like 2007, which is before Iron Man comes out. Imagine if they had their DC, they did an Aquaman show, a Flash show, and a Arrow show, and they had like a continuity on TV before Marvel even did it. What? That would change. I don't know what that would change. That's crazy.
Well, maybe not, because if it was awful and nobody was really paying attention to it, it wouldn't change anything, because there are envelopes that the CW has pushed and gotten past that nobody was paying attention to and that didn't matter to the culture. So now, like, Spider-Man does the shared cinematic multiverse thing now a couple of years after CW Crisis, several years after CW was already playing around with that, with like 90s Flash and stuff like that. And the main reason, in my mind, that movie is the 12th highest grossing movie of all time, makes $1.7 billion already, still in the theater, still accumulating, and without China, may I add,
I know, that's crazy.
Because it was unprecedented to people and made history. But it didn't make history, it was done already. In fact, it was done with, not well, but it was done and with a whole bunch of properties, not just 2, like a dozen DC things. But
the difference is none of those.
Nobody was watching those shows. It wasn't good, and it wasn't on the big screen. And movie theaters, not movie theaters, but movies legitimize everything. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying, and nobody grew up with those properties. Not like people grew up when they were like 5 or 6 with Arrow and Flash, and then like it's coming back 20 years later.
Oh, not true though, because they tried, and I mean, these were cameo things, but we didn't know how cameo they'd be until until the show aired.
Yeah, you're right.
They sold it on 89 Batman has a character, and 60s Batman has Robin, and Birds of Prey from early 2000s, and no, there was stuff people grew up with, like...
Yeah, but there's like B characters, like, it's not like Batman himself came in.
Kevin Conroy played Batman in live action in that.
It's true.
That was a big deal to people. It just sucked. And then you had, and I mean, like, this is not as a great example, but it counts because you had what's his face playing Superman from Superman Returns. That actor had been in that continuity as Ray Palmer for a long time, but they brought that Superman back, and it's a big screen Superman that some people grew up with. So I mean, like, yeah, it's not as big of a deal as Garfield and especially
Tobey.
I mean, Maguire, certainly. But I'm just saying, DJ, if that, well, and also the current Flash from the movies had a scene in that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I think, like, I agree with what you're saying. I think the fact that it's TV has more of it than the fact that it was bad, because the movie Spider-Man was not good either, and it's still making billions.
I'm telling you, if they had picked exactly the same characters and they had just been cameos, but it had been in a big screen DC thing, it would have been huge. Because it had never been done before.
And they could have at any time. Like, they could have brought in those characters. They were all there. All of those actors would have loved to be in a movie.
I have a prediction too. You know how earlier you were saying that Warner Brothers has got to be furious about Marvel getting ahead of this. Flash will not make that kind of money, and it won't do even what they're projected. I will be surprised if it. I don't know if I should say a number because I'm wrong a lot.
I'd be surprised if it beat Batman v Superman.
Does it clear 500-600 million? I think it's possible it doesn't clear 600 million.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what. I don't even pay attention to what things are making these days, but I don't know. I couldn't give a number, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be their most successful movie. I don't think it'll even clear BVS or.
I mean, it could. I really don't know for sure, but I think Spider-Man's got to hurt. Well, I think Spider-Man hurts it because it's not. Let me play both sides of this for a minute. A part of me thinks it can't. It's got to hurt it because it's not new and it's been done now. On the other hand, it could be a new fad that it looks like, even though DC was, almost got ahead of it, it looks like that they're, jumping on the bandwagon of, and fans are craving more of it, where it's like, well, we got it in Marvel, now we want it on the other side for DC, and people were losing their minds about Keaton in that initial teaser trailer, certainly. So it could just be that this nostalgia train thing is working, and it doesn't really matter what rumors. It is, but like,
yeah,
Matrix has not been performing great, but then it's been having to go up against Spider-Man. So
yeah, well, we've got rumors that, like, they're doing reshoots on Doctor Strange, and people are there's rumors, or they may have even said something that they're doing they're filming cameos for that. So it's definitely a fad, at least in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. But I don't see how Flash does the numbers. It will never know, of course, but that it would have done if Marvel hadn't got ahead of them on it. And I feel weird saying this, being of my generation and being the fan I am of what I'm a fan of, DJ, but right now, this day and age, with the audience that's most likely to go to movie theaters to see superhero stuff, should I say it? I think Maguire and Garfield is a bigger deal than Keaton. Because
I agree with that.
I don't know how much of my generation that still loves 89 is showing up for that, or thinks it's as big of a deal because it's in a Flash movie. If it was, it's because it's in a Flash movie.
It's weird.
Like, I'm seeing people really polarized on whether this should even be happening. Where it's like, because I'm hearing a lot of people saying these two seemingly contradictory things. It shouldn't be in a Flash movie, but it has to be because that movie would not have legs without it, and it's the only way it performs at all. So of course you have to put some version of Batman in it. My generation would go if this was Batman Beyond with a 70-year-old 89 Batman grooming a Terry McGinnis. It's freaking huge. And even after Spider-Man, that's freaking huge. But it just being Keaton, like helping Flash to be a better superhero or whatever. Like you're basically or to just rope up other superheroes from other dimensions or whatever. You're basically putting him in the Iron Man role from Homecoming. I mean,
you're putting him in the Ben Affleck Batman role from your own Justice League movie. He's just going to other universes to find people. It's just what Batman does in this universe. He just rounds up. He's like the team manager. He just rounds up the team.
I know I've complained about this before, but I really want to say this again because it drives me nuts. You know what the dumbest thing about that teaser is, DJ?
No, because I haven't seen it. What is it?
Okay. Well, the end of that teaser... Sorry, I forgot. You don't watch trailers. The end of that teaser is Flash, because he is the stand-in for all the fanboys, geeking out about nostalgia, right? Because I guess he grew up watching '89 Batman. I don't know. He's in the Batcave, right? And he grabs the tarp that clearly is over a silhouette of the '89 Batmobile, and he pulls it off, and then the screen cuts. I mean, I know what that car looks like.
You're not gonna get to see it. Does he go?
Do you know how many of them I have in this room? Like, I know what it looks like.
Wait. Does Ezra Miller go like, it's like a Bat-mobile?
Not in the teaser, but I would not be surprised if that wasn't in the movie. Okay, let's continue, shall we?
Yeah, we're way behind. Daddy Longlegs, $5 super chat. Superman and Lois is better than Smallville ever was with just one season. Can't wait for the season 2 premiere next week. Oh, wow.
I didn't know it was next week. I actually still haven't seen the last episode because I'm just so behind on stuff, and I just keep forgetting to go back to it. I really like that show, but for some reason, middle of the season, I fell off because it was off for a while. I guess that's why. And then I've worked in watching it when I can, but I've been watching it by myself because I was trying to catch up, and I left. Jason was watching it with me, and I ended up leaving him behind on it so I could try to catch up, and then I never finished catching up on it. So yeah, thanks for letting me know that that's about to start again. I agree. And in being set in Smallville and doing some family dynamics and things like that show did, it very much treats Smallville like a prototype, where it's like, this is what that show could have been. And here's a post Smallville world Smallville, and a post CW superhero world, and post MCU Smallville, where it's like, we can do costumes now, and we can do full-fledged supervillains, and we have the money and we have the budget to make the fight scenes look good, and we can be more stylized and all of that. So yeah, ever since the pilot for that, I've been calling it Smallville 2, because it absolutely is. And
that's gotta be so cool for you to finally get a better version of that. That's really cool.
I can't tell you how big of a deal it is. Yeah, and it's not a perfect show. It's got some typical TV drama problems, but as far as those go, it's one of the better ones. But yeah, I think it got a little bit too wrapped up in, maybe not wrapped up in its own mythology, but just a little too ambitious maybe with the sheer amount of comic mythology stuff it threw in the first season, because it felt like so much of a more of a down-to-earth thing, and then it just kept peeling the curtain back, and a lot of the reveals are really fun, but I'm afraid it's going to have that Arrow and Flash problem where it's like, we have all these really cool things we want to adapt from comics and ideas based on that stuff, and then second season, oh man, the show is successful, I guess we got to make more of this, and so I'm a little bit concerned about that, but it has a character reveal that's as good as the Martian Manhunter reveal from Supergirl in that first season that I did not call, and when it turns out it's who it is, I'm like, that's Bossa Nova. But yeah, I should do a rundown of that season at some point when I finish watching it. I'll probably have to do another watch of it because it's been a while, but I don't know when and if that will happen, but I should talk more about that show.
Yeah. We'll just wait for the 30th anniversary at this point. Ryder, $2 super chat.
You know, one of the things that makes me cringe the most thinking back on my channel and things I've said before is all the times I would make fun of myself for how slow I was going in putting out episodes of Crypto Freaks, where I'm like, I'll get to that when I'm in my 40s. and I'm very close to that happening now.
You weren't exaggerating.
I got 3 years before that is no longer a joke.
You just push it back. It's a joke that keeps on giving. You just change it to 50s, you change it to 60s.
Oh, speaking of Superman, sorry, this just occurred to me, and I don't have a better place to put it, so I want to mention it here. The other day, we've been watching a bunch of game shows lately, just in the background while we've been taking care of the girls. I'm a big game show fan. Used to be kind of a game show fanatic, and hadn't really watched a lot of that stuff in a long time. And I started getting YouTube TV again so that I can watch, this isn't interesting to anybody, but just so that I can watch college basketball this year. And so I've gone back and checked out some more recent game shows. I thought, DJ, that game shows were kind of a thing of the past and that there wasn't really a culture for that anymore and that nobody really cared, and like Game Show Network is doing some kind of, dull who cares stuff. It turns out that there's like this whole renaissance going on that nobody I know is talking about, and I didn't realize it. Like, I knew about the new revamp that's in its 5th season now of $100,000 Pyramid, which is my absolute favorite game show of all time, and it's wonderful. It's just as good as the original, and that host is Dick Clark level good. It's great. I did not know that there was a new Press Your Luck, and it's Elizabeth Banks, and she's one of the greatest talk show hosts, or I'm sorry, game show hosts of all time now.
That's awesome.
Like, I
that
can't
seems
even
like
believe,
right up her alley.
I can't even believe they got her. Like, since when are movie stars game show hosts? Like, it's usually TV people that are like, not making things anymore, that are kind of, out to pasture or whatever. She is awesome. That show is so good. It's like, and I was never a huge Press Your Luck fan. It's better than the original. Like, and it was a decent show, but they've added a bonus game to that's so freaking cool. Anyway, I may talk about game shows at some point.
Hey, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the reboot of Supermarket Sweep.
I watched one of those today.
That's such a manic, crazy show. I actually enjoyed those.
I enjoyed it too. I have never liked that show because it's so stupid cheesy and doesn't know how cheesy it is, and it drives me crazy. And the new approach, and here's the thing, that is Leslie
I wanted to say Leslie Knope. Now
Jones. That's Leslie Jones. And she is simultaneously obnoxious and 10 times better than the original host, than David what's-his-face. Because he was so super awkward, and the reason that her brand of hosting works with that show is they've leaned into how much that premise was just a Nickelodeon show. So they've just made it like a Nickelodeon game show for adults, and it totally works now. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed that.
I remember when I brought that up. It was like years ago now when that because it came out on Netflix, and I watched a couple episodes, and you were like making fun of me for watching Supermarket Sweep.
Because it's terrible.
It's pretty fun. I'm talking about the reboot, but yeah.
But no, the reboot is actually pretty great. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, the reason I brought all that up is just to mention a really funny a thing that happened with my son Freddie. So Freddie is 7, and we were watching Game Show Network, which I haven't had access to in a long time, and so I was kind of giddy about that, and we were just putting on whatever was on, and we were watching an old episode of Deal or No Deal, which is the greatest waste of time of all time, and we're watching Deal or No Deal, and I hear Jason and Freddie are behind me in the kitchen. I'm in the living room taking care of the girls, of my twins, and they're getting into this heated argument about who the host is. And the host of that show is Howie Mandel, and at that time he had this really cool look where he was shaving his head and he had a goatee, and Freddie was arguing heavily that was Lex Luthor hosting that show.
It's amazing.
I just hear this argument from it's Lex Luthor, and Jason's like, Lex Luthor is a fictional character. That's Howie Mandel. Look at him, it's Lex Luthor. He wasn't saying he looked like he was saying that Lex Luthor is the host of that game show.
It's amazing. You should have jumped on his side of the argument and just kept that going.
I should have. Instead, I said the obvious thing, or at least obvious to me, which was, well, no, he's not actually Lex Luthor, but he did play Mixoplick once in Lois and Clark.
To which Freddy just looked at you, confused. All right, we got to get some of these super chats knocked out.
Yeah,
Ryder, so this is back when we were talking about how every movie is a team movie. He says, do any of those DC teams actually get another movie? Bop.
I mean, I think Suicide Squad will, because that was popular.
Yeah, that's one out of 5.
I think you'll see down the road... Okay, so you'll never see this. What I was going to say is, I think down the road, if they can finally kind of solidify the DCEU into a less awkward, more solid thing, that maybe the characters that take off from that with... or at least they keep making movies with. So Flash, Shazam, Aquaman, and then so I mean a couple characters that were already in the Justice League, but then if their Supergirl and Batgirl work out, stuff like that, maybe down the road you'll get like a Justice League 2.0.
Like we thought we were going to get at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron, where there was like the second team.
Wasn't that so awkward? When they set that up and then we never do anything with that?
Nope.
Isn't it also weird thinking about where the history of all of this has gone with what almost happened in the end of that movie, where that was supposed to introduce Captain Marvel and Spider-Man? Remember that?
That would have been crazy. Well, Spider-Man was the very next movie anyway, so that would have been... So he came in Civil War, or the very next year.
Wow. But that's where they were supposed to introduce that. Where he was supposed to just web down. I still think that would have been kind of cool. If just unceremoniously, with no fanfare whatsoever, hey, there's Spider-Man!
It would have been, yeah. I love his appearance in Civil War, so I'm glad.
No, I'm not saying it would have been better, and I don't like Spider-Man as an Avenger, so it would have been irritating to me, but just looking back on it, I don't know, just the way that would have surprised me. That's Spider-Man. He's an important Marvel thing that we'll just pretend like we always had the rights to.
Yeah, and then Marvel would use that theater footage of people screaming their heads off for advertising for years to come, because that's just what we do now. We just advertise with bootleg theater recordings.
Well, and actually the difference is, if they did it back then, they would have done it the way they introduced all the characters in that scene, which, I mean, none of them were new characters. They were all characters that had been introduced in that movie or before. But but they would have just shot it. They would have had, Spider-Man would have just come down from the ceiling. That would have been it. If you did it now, he would have, walked out from a back room and then given the audience time to finish applauding before anyone said anything.
Yeah, just looking around like he's at a convention.
Because that's what I was going to say. These scenes are stage convention appearances now. You got to give everybody time to finish clapping.
All right, and we're getting into depressive territory.
The MCU should almost have, the equivalent of sitcom laugh tracks now. They should have, applause tracks in the movies. I'm sorry, hold on. I just dropped a ring. Hang on.
Except when you watch the movies by yourself, it's gonna be super. It's like watching Friends on YouTube.
So seriously, I've lost so much weight now. These are just popping off my fingers.
Oh no!
I'm gonna lose one at some point.
Old Cap skinny fingers now. But yeah,
that's what everybody's been calling me.
Yeah, behind your back. While you've been on vacation, it's been happening. I've been trying to calm it down, but it's uncontrollable. These guys. Should we move on? Super Billy. Super Billy's got another two-parter here. Does the commercial/critical failure of Eternals and the commercial/critical success of Smr spell doom for the future of the MCU? That would be Spider-Man No Way Home. But
I guess...
the first time I read it like that, and it looks funny.
Yeah, no, I think it spells... I don't want to be that doom and gloom about it. I am certainly concerned that, and especially with the reshoots the aforementioned reshoots you were talking about earlier with Doctor Strange 2 and stuff, I'm worried that Marvel is going to take all the wrong lessons from the success of Spider-Man, absolutely. And I really liked Eternals, and it's a flawed movie. It's not perfect, but
it was fresh.
It was fresh, and it wasn't just house style, and it was trying things, and it was taking some risks. And I do worry that, yes, with that not succeeding, and with this much safer kind of fan pandering thing that No Way Home was, despite the fact that there are certainly things I enjoyed in that movie, yeah, I'm not willing to say it spells doom, but I am worried that it won't go in the direction that I wish it were. Like, at the very least, it's a personal preference thing, where Eternals felt like going back to Winter Soldier. Not that it's anything like that movie, but where it was like, that universe can surprise us with the kinds of movies you didn't think they'd make. And I'm a little bit concerned that we'll never see that again.
Yeah, I loved how not connected to the MCU it was, even though there's like they force in a bunch of like, hey, let's talk about Thor for a second, but like how not dependent on that stuff it was. And it seems like that's why everyone's hating it, because it's not what they want. So yeah, I'm not going to be like, I'm never watching another MCU movie, but all my excitement has been kind of because I was excited. I loved Shang-Chi, I loved Eternals. I was like, oh, I didn't like Black Widow, but Phase 4 is looking up. And then if this is, you can't make that kind of money and not have it affect your plans going forward. Like, it's going to change some things, at least. It already has, apparently. I don't want them to bring back the X-Men stuff. What? I know that's just a rumor at this point, but that would be so sad.
And the main reason I don't want that is because the best example so far of the nostalgia throwback crossover thing working really well is Days of Future Past. Like, please don't come back and ruin that with the same... I mean, I can't say it would ruin it because I still have that movie, but you know what I mean? Like, at least don't do it with those characters. Like, that's the best it's ever been done.
You cannot bring back Hugh Jackman.
Or Stewart, I would say, because...
Yeah, because Logan, both of them, you can't do that.
Had brilliant send-offs.
Oh, that would be so infuriating.
Yeah, please don't do that.
But then you had a part 2 to that.
And also, sorry, before we move on, I also have to say that I'm worried that there's going to maybe be a Marvel rule that if we bring back old definitive versions of characters, we're never allowed to recreate them for the MCU. And that's what they're doing, it seems, with all the Spider-Man villains that they did from the old movies, which is a lot of why I'm so frustrated with that movie. Like, despite like all the logic issues I have and the working backwards from a conclusion and motivation stuff and everything, the biggest thing that drives me nuts is that we didn't introduce, well, besides that ending and making that trilogy completely pointless, we
and then it's not even out of the MCU. Like, why did you do that?
It felt like a business move so that it could go its own in Sony, and then it's not even doing that. What was the point? Anyway, but I've been through all this 3 hours and 17 minutes on Sunday. I don't want to rehash everything, but I don't think I really talked about this before. It would. Oh no, I did a little bit, but it drove me nuts, DJ, that we didn't set up even one new version of a villain that we brought in from those other two franchises. Like, the first thing you'd think viewers would be curious about is, what do they look like in the MCU? Like, that's been my frustration sometimes with comic crossovers, things like Spider-Man and stuff, where nobody's even asking what's the... actually, Spider-Man handled it okay, but there's other stuff I hated about that book. I can't remember what now. It's been years since I reviewed that, but that whole book, I was like, what is Miles Morales like in 616? And then you get to the end and he looks himself up. How are we not doing that with this? Is it weird? I didn't talk about this on Sunday. Is it weird to you that Norman Osborn's house exists? In the MCU, he's like, somebody's living at my house. But I'm going to say, like, somebody's living at my house. But...
I didn't even remember that line. So all the houses are the same?
He went to his house and someone else was living in it, but there's no Oscorp and he doesn't exist.
That's a weird I've never seen that in a multiverse where like
Yeah.
the builders built the same plant. It's that similar? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
But he doesn't exist, and somehow genetically the same people don't look the same except for JMS. Or JMS, except for J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson is the one person
It's the JMS cameo
between.
in there.
Yeah, JMS is played by 3 different actors. Did you know that?
Oh, he was the guy. He was in all the 3 Spider-Man costumes when they had their masks up.
But I mentioned that to say, can you believe, you and I haven't talked about this movie, can you believe that once again, the first thing Andrew Garfield Spider-Man does when he meets people is takes his mask off? But anyway, are we going to do the same thing?
He only does it because it's that, like, why, he wouldn't do that. Why would he do that? He doesn't know who the heck these people are. He
I
just goes
know!
to a portal for no reason and takes his mask off.
When we bring in Fox X-Men characters, are they going to go, we're never allowed to do new versions of those characters, just like we're doing with Spider-Man characters?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. It seemed, but they had that rule already even before they did the crossover. They were like, hey, we're not in these Homecoming movies. We're doing villains we've never seen. It's like that. It's like a Smallville rule where you can't fly, we can't do villains. Because we've done the iconic,
definitive, perfect versions.
Yeah, because Green Goblin is the definitive Green Goblin, and we're just pretending Electro was definitive now for some reason. But it was so
Which is hilarious because he's a completely different character.
Yeah. Anyway. He did have a second part to that, which we kind of just went right into. So I'll read it. He says, he detested both, and most of Phase 4 has been a huge disappointment in his opinion. But he says, I prefer failed ambitious risks to failed safe pandering bets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well said.
We basically talked about if we had read yours, we wouldn't have had to say all the stuff we just said.
That's true. Yeah, we could have paid attention, but we just got too excited about part 1, so we just didn't even bother with the sequel. You know, that's why you put both movies out at the same time, and like the second one, not as many people are gonna. That's not me saying divide it into two super chats. I'm not saying that. That became a metaphor that was unfortunate. It was a problematic metaphor. I apologize.
Apologies also tonight if we're just kind of all over the place and scatterbrained. We're just enjoying talking to each other.
I haven't seen DJ in so long. Yeah, I'm being self-indulgent, and
yeah.
I apologize, but also my name's in the title, so it was already self-indulgent.
Yeah, we're not sorry.
I mean, the show, I don't do very much planning for this at all. Like, I look at some news and stuff. That's about it. Like the show is we show up, and then it's just me for a couple hours talking with you, you know? So it's already kind of self-indulgent. Like, the premise is that title. Whatever that entails, that's the premise. Okay, I'm assuming we still have like 8 or 9.
Yes.
Okay.
At least.
Well, we got 15 minutes left in the show. Let's try and knock them out. Here we go.
All right, Bob the Hun, $5. Did you hear about Superman getting... Never said this show never said this word on the show before. So let's not joke for a second. Yeah. Did you hear about Superman getting raped in the comics? Not a joke. They really did this. People are mad. They went there. Possible political pandering?
Okay. I'll look into it. I had not heard about that. I saw somebody in the comments say something about that, but I didn't know what it meant. So, yeah, I'll look into it.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's a recent thing. Jeez. I didn't hear about that either.
This kind of stuff is part of why I haven't really been keeping up with comics, because it's, I don't know, everything just seems so controversial and volatile all the time. Like, it's just, it doesn't seem fun to even try to keep up with the medium anymore to some degree. I'm sure there's lots of fun things worth reading and you know, interesting, good stories worth looking at and stuff. But it seems like the only time I hear comic news anymore is, do you hear this horrible thing that happened? Or like this really, you know, off-putting or controversial thing that, I don't know, it just seems like I can't just like sit down and read comics anymore. I have to like, you know, decide what side I'm on with arguments now. And like, that's no fun. That's not what I want. Where it's like, you know, I wanted to read, and I probably will at some point, but I wanted to look at the new Tom Taylor Superman thing. And then all the news was, oh, they took John Kent and they made him bisexual. Now that's all anybody wants to talk about. And just puts me off, Not necessarily because he made him bisexual, because that's what we're talking about now. That's all that matters. And it's like, I just kind of want to see how the book is, And so it feels like it's not fun to talk about these things anymore, because all anybody will want to talk about is the controversial parts about it.
Yeah, and obviously part of that is how we do news these days. Like, they need a clickbaity title, so that's the only thing anyone latches onto. They don't actually read the books. They just mention the big things. I don't know. Comics aren't movies. Like, they're not going to be. They just need to be for the audience they're for. They don't need to try to be these big, huge, exaggerated things just to get news attention on your medium. Like, just I don't know. I feel like.
But also,
that's why they
like,
feel
people need to stop grabbing onto, aspects like that out of context. And
but we've been doing that forever.
And blowing it out of proportion. And
like the Captain America stupid Nazi thing or whatever. That was
okay, but then I read that and it was really, really terrible.
But they didn't know that. They just pulled that up for the news.
Well, yeah, because the article, Captain America's a Nazi now. And it's like, well, it is more complicated than that. What the news should have been is, this is the worst event in 10 years. That's what it should have been. And, by the way, that's the same guy, Nick Spencer, who then came in and revamped and fixed Spider-Man and made it a great book. Like, he's, people can be hit and miss. Like, he wasn't good on that Captain America event. He just, freaking killed it on Spider-Man, for at least the arcs that I read.
Sweet. Yeah, comics are hard, man. It's a fast-paced medium. Sometimes you just got to get stuff out. You don't get to perfect everything. Sometimes your stories are not great.
You'll never be able to explain to me why that book was that bad, but yeah, absolutely. I am thinking about trying to. I'm sorry, what?
I was saying sometimes Marvel gives you a premise that you just have to do, and you just can't do it. You're not the guy for it. I don't know.
I do want to dip my toe back in current again, because I hate being as out of the loop as I am, and I'd like to make the attempt to avoid all the politics, and I mean, it's impossible to fully do that, but just how divided everybody is, and just look at some books that look interesting and see what I think about them. And I'm thinking if I can carve out the time at some point, DJ, doing a live show where I just look at completely blind, going in without having not read Big Two at all, hardly in a couple of years, and pull up Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe and just flip through recent things that they've put there in the last few months, and just see what the books look like.
Yeah.
And just do a show where we just scroll down and go, oh, look, this is a thing that's happening. See what it all looks like. I think that could be fun.
There's the name of the show. Oh, look.
What? Nicholas Robinson, real quick, I want to mention his super chat so that he has time to do this. He wants to know if he can guess my top 10 favorite comic book superheroes. Absolutely. Sure. That'll be fun to read. Throw them in there.
Go for it. That's interesting. We've never had someone ask us a question for something for work for them to do. That's great.
My favorite thing about that is that I don't have to do more ranked lists this evening.
Yeah, you really caught him off guard with that, guys.
No, it's just I didn't love most of the things I had to put in that list, so I wasn't sure how to do it.
Yeah, it's hard. Lewis Cox, hey Cap, will this be the end of the CW? Sorry, I think. Yeah, no, this is the super chat. Will this be the end of the CW? If so, thank God. Also, do you think all of the Arrowverse will be HBO Max if the CW goes away?
Yeah, so I kind of answered this earlier, but I think, like I said earlier, there are two shows that will go to HBO Max, and if the CW gets bought up, and surely not, right? If they're not allowed to hang on to those shows when they leave. I don't see how in the world that would work. But I think Superman and Lois will stick around, and I think Stargirl will stick around, and I don't know, maybe Black Lightning, if that's still on, would get one more season or something. Or did that finish? I'm not sure. Anyway, but beyond that, I think they would end the Arrowverse completely, and they would basically treat those other shows like they're not in that kind. And I don't think Stargirl is anyway. I don't think they've roped it in, but I don't know that for sure. And then what was the rest of that? Just will it be the end of the CW? I don't know what a company would do with buying it.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it feels like they're going to put it up and no one's gonna care. Like, what? It's not like anything comes with that. I mean, I guess for some teenager, like for that audience, maybe some clout comes with that, but not if you don't have any of the shows.
So Hollywood Reporter says local TV giant Nexstar is among the potential suitors. Nexstar, which owns 199 local TV stations as well as the cable channel news station and The Hill. I've never heard of any of this. Is one of the largest
TV giant.
Is one of the largest owners of the CW stations. It isn't immediately clear whether Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media plan to sell the entire network or retain minority stakes. But with just the IPs they own and stuff, I don't see how selling the network would come with all the programming. But it might come with some of it. And then you wouldn't retain that name. You'd have to change it, right?
Yeah, what does it stand for? I don't even know.
I don't remember anymore. I used to know that. I'll look it up. It's we live in the future, so there's no mystery to the world anymore.
No. We can find out instantly.
C stands for CBS and the W stands for Warner Brothers. That's right.
Yeah, CBS, Warner Brothers. Yeah, so how can Warner Brothers sell something that stands for CBS Warner Brothers?
Well, they'd have to change the title. I mean, in exactly the same way as when UPN and the WB merged, they changed the name to CW.
So they have to be like, what are you buying? You can't take the Warner properties. You can't take the name. What the heck are you buying?
I think it's hilarious that this even still exists, because you had CBS All Access, which became Paramount Plus, and you have HBO Max. Like, you have these two companies that have like their own streaming services at this point, but they still have a merged TV network.
Yeah, because neither of those networks are big enough names to sell a streaming service, but you've got this one that's a combination of both of them.
Ryder says they'll call it the WC.
Ooh, it's like a
Which stands for water closet.
It's water cooler. It's the water cooler network. Everyone's talking about it.
Oh, sorry, Water Closet is the British version of the reversed CW. Okay, moving right along.
I'm waiting for the streaming service called The Loo. All right, Mr. Roboto.
The Lift. The Garage. Sorry.
Mr. Roboto, $2. Geekvolution satellite ready to launch. Just say yes. I feel like I'm being threatened right now. What?
Yeah, I'm somewhat mortified by that.
Just say yes. If you could put just say yes at the end of any of these, and I'd be a little scared.
Licorice Whip, just say yes. I don't know what you'd do with a Geekvolution satellite. I mean, at that point, like, we're such a small operation. I mean, it'd be a big deal if we just had our own internet server. Like, really, I'm not sure why we would need a satellite. Geekvolution space station.
Hey, that's where you make all your Captain Clogans. And they have to work on the moon, and it's this really dark, creepy, terrifying movie. Mr. Roboto, $2. I like that movie a lot.
I'll put that in my back pocket as another potential premise for the eventual Geekvolution movie. And you know what we can all be pretty sure of? I'll be in my 40s when that gets made.
Yes, at least. No, check out Moon. It's a great movie. I like Moon.
Oh, I love Moon. Roboto. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know that's what you were talking. Oh, yes, because clones. Spoiler alert. No, that's a great movie. You know what's funny? That movie made me decide that that guy was my new favorite director, and then he made Source Code, which I really liked first time out, and then I went back and watched it later, and it's not great. And I never saw his Warcraft movie. So
and then I've heard horrible things about his fourth film on Netflix, which is called Mute.
Was that the Moon sequel? Because
I don't know. If it was a backdoor sequel, I didn't know. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, he made a movie that was a backdoor sequel to Moon that everybody said was terrible, and I couldn't bring myself to watch it because I didn't really want to know.
Yeah. Anyway, finally, Lewis Cox.
Sorry.
Mr. Roboto has another one first. How was the welder helped in Far From Home, DJ? The welder helped him. Let me try to write myself into that horrible film for a second. How was he helped? Was he in danger? I don't know why he was in danger. I think he was just blipped. I think he wasn't blipped, and I think he's just 5 years older now, so that's why he wasn't in the film.
I think he's still working at that school, and
He's
was
the
the guy
teacher
who
now.
was hired to put together the Spider-Man display in the glass case.
That's true. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe he learned other tools. He could work with glass and stuff.
Honestly, what I want to know is what other actors play the welder in other universes. Like, what does he look like? Because they're not all you. I can guarantee you they're not all you, because you're not J. Jonah Jameson or JMS.
No, he was just talking about Far From Home, but yeah, you're talking about No Way Home. I don't know what the welder's doing there. That's a nightmare one.
I keep thinking Far From Home and No Way Home are the same movie.
Yeah,
half the time when I say
way too similar.
When I'm trying to say that, I end up saying Far From Home. Like, stop it with three. They both have home, and they're both 3 syllables with 3. Stop it.
They have to stop that after the trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Please stop that.
Yeah, I don't.
Do not do that again.
I don't think they'll keep doing the home.
I don't even know why you had to do it for the trilogy, but don't do that again.
Well, you didn't. You also, it turns out, didn't even have to make that trilogy. Because the place where he's left at the beginning, at the end of that he'll be in at the beginning of the next one, could have been the start of a franchise, because the whole thing was just a pointless origin story, ultimately, over 3 movies.
It's a pointless trilogy, but we're also pretending that it was a trilogy. It's I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, why does it keep coming back to that movie? Let's move on.
Because it made $600 bazillion dollars. That's why.
Can't escape it. Super Billy, $5. CW wasn't all bad, but good riddance.
Well, the nice thing is
saying that
when it's over, you can still take out your discs or whatever and go back to the things that you liked that kind of worked.
Yeah, he says love Supergirl and Batgirl as additions, not replacements.
Yeah,
and Matrix 4 was bizarre and most often in a bad way.
I don't know if I agree with that second part, because I still can't fully suss out my opinion of that movie. Connor and I are going to talk about that live on Sunday night, and I'm going to watch it again over the weekend in preparation for that. But
Connor had a more positive experience with that than anyone I've heard.
He and I are pretty lined up on it, I think. At least so far, until I look at it again. Because, it's the two brains about it again thing, DJ, where it's like enjoyment versus like critically what works. I feel exactly the same way right now on one viewing that Mike from Red Letter Media did, where he said, like, a lot of it doesn't work and it totally falls apart, but I loved every minute of it. I have just the same experience that he did with it. There are some wonderfully fascinating ideas in that movie, and the first 45 minutes I think are gangbusters. And then it gets really bizarre and really weird, and I don't know what's happening half the time. And it's crazy, but I respect a lot of things about it. And I really enjoyed it, and my wife did too. We got to the end of that, and I just looked at her and was like, I don't think that worked, but I liked watching it. And she was like, at least most of it, and she goes, yeah, it was fun. And that's all she wanted, because she didn't think it was possible that a almost 20 years later Matrix movie would be fun. And I agree with her. But unfortunately, the action is not good, and you don't want that with a Matrix movie.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So everyone's throwing in Spider-Man home names.
Oh, God.
They've been doing that in the chat. But Busted Sim said one that I've never heard, which made me chuckle. Spider-Man Homer's Odyssey. Just go a whole different direction.
Spider-Man Home Run.
Yeah, they're doing a bunch of them in the chat. Let's not start that again. Let's put that to bed. That was all we did for the 6 years of those movies.
Oh, you know what though? Sorry, I don't mean to be obnoxious after you said that, but if you had to do the home thing again for the 4th one, the title is obvious, right? It's Spider-Man Homeless, like, obviously.
Yeah, someone said that. That's amazing. Yeah, he's got some kind of home. I don't know how he got that apartment. I don't know where he's making money, but he's doing something.
He accidentally stepped into the Raimiverse, and he just got the exact apartment that Peter Parker had in Spider-Man 2.
He's delivering pizzas.
Or he's just in the same building. Like, did you not expect Djokovic to walk out at the end of that movie? Like,
Oh man.
Spider-Man, go home.
Go! I love that. Oh man.
Spider-Man,
Why?
he stole that guy's pizzas.
People are gonna think we're on something tonight. It's water, guys. I'm only drinking water.
Well, I mean, I'm drinking beer, but I haven't finished this, and it's only the first one I've had. No, I'm on the high of hanging out with DJ, I think.
Yes, the best high you can have.
This is the most fun I've had on this show in a long time.
It's been good, man. It's always good when we come back after a while. Whenever we come back to Tuesday shows, it's gonna feel really, really good. Someday.
Yeah. No, we'll do it.
All right, Nicholas Robinson, $2. What do you like about Black Canary?
Yeah, I don't know, like really specifically character-wise and stuff, it's all pretty superficial. I haven't spent a lot of time with, like, solo stuff with that character, and I haven't read enough, like, Green Arrow stuff with her, so I don't profess to be a big fan of that character. Like, I know it super well. I just like the aesthetic with her and the the relationship with Green Arrow, certainly. But, like, there's a spunk and a wit with that character, especially in comics, that's really appealing to me, and I think it's also been always been the relationship between her and Oracle, particularly in the early Birds of Prey comics, and she's got a cool power.
Yeah. Really quickly, Bob the Hun followed up on his Superman thing that happened in the comics. He said, $5 super chat. People are saying what was done to Superman is payback for how female heroes were treated, women in fridges. He was depowered before this violation.
Man, okay. I don't really want to comment on this right now until I've looked into it.
I know nothing about it. I can't really say anything, but it doesn't sound like I would enjoy learning about it.
I just don't think that kind of, like, I guess I will say this, DJ. Sorry, I always have opinions. I can't help it.
That's why it's your show.
We don't need that kind of narrative retribution to make up for, like, ignorance or even, like, you know, intentional mean-spirited mistakes of the past. Like, the way, you know, if you have like not the kind of representation with female characters that you want, or you feel like they're not empowered enough, or whatever, the way to fix that is to allow stories to be written where they're more realistic and on the same playing field more as men and aren't treated as inferior, and then we all move on. And once that kind of thing is allowed, which more or less, of course, it is now, you solve that problem by... this is going to sound like an obnoxious answer. You solve that problem by solving the problem, not by narrative revenge. I don't know what the point of that is, and I think that kind of thing always sets us back. If that is what actually indeed is happening.
Yeah, if that's the reason, that's crazy. I don't know if that's what they said or if that's what people who are reading it are just saying, like, as a backlash.
Yeah, people might be reading into that. Although I don't understand why you would want to do that in a book. But I mean, I always make the case of you can make anything work. I mean, it's dumb to act like in real life men don't also have that happen to them, even though of course it doesn't happen as often as it does with women. It's not like you can't tell that story, and I could see it being just a, like, provocative, crazy thing that you do where it's like, wouldn't it be nuts if Superman lost his powers and then that happened to him, and you just do it as, like, a crazy, edgy novelty kind of thing. That is the most Image 1992 thing I can think of to do to Superman.
It sounds like a Zack Snyder thing to do.
Yeah, but dare I say I could see that being handled thoughtfully, maybe. Or at least I can sort of, in a desert island scenario, imagine it. I don't know that I actually see that really being handled. I don't know I don't know that I can imagine the motivation behind that being altruistic. But you know what I mean. But like your heart would be in the right place with doing that. But I don't know. Like I haven't looked at it, so
yeah, we have no idea.
I don't want to decry it on
used.
the face value. But if the point of it is what I called narrative retribution, I think that is wrong and pointless and sets us back.
Mr. Roboto, what if J. Jonah Jameson got bit by the spider?
Oh, that's fun. I like that. What would happen, DJ? He would become a wrestler, and
yeah, would he stick to his guns and like throw himself in jail? No, he doesn't have that character. He would be like, "Oh, it's fine that I have powers."
Well, he would just use it
I'm
for.
Great.
He would just use it for monetary gain, right? Like he would do the same thing Peter Parker does initially, and then
yeah, well, except he would try to boost his newspaper any way he could with it.
And then his wife dies, and he could have stopped it, and then he becomes a superhero.
Yeah, and then if you want to watch Spider-Man 2.1, where they add the deleted scene back in, where J. Jonah Jameson puts on the suit and jumps around on his desk and shoots it. There you go.
Oh, wait, does that happen?
Yeah, have you not watched Spider-Man 2.1?
No, I guess I haven't.
What's his face? The guy who plays J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons. He puts on you remember when he gets the suit from the garbage man?
Yeah.
He puts it on for like a scene. And
I probably knew this at one time, but I'd forgotten about it.
He's going like, pss, 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 and then it pans over, and it's like Elizabeth Banks and Robinson looking at him through the window, like he's crazy.
I knew there was an extended cut of that, but I don't know if I have it. I probably have a copy of that.
Yeah, I have the DVD.
It
was basically like
Four 2.
Yes, which was better. Spider-Man. The fact that they like, if you only have so much footage to make it a 2.1, don't call it Spider-Man 2.1. That's ridiculous. Well, and because X-Men had a X-Men 1.5.
1.5, but they didn't put the footage back in. It was just extra feet. 1.5 just meant bonus disc. I was going to mention that.
We should do a video at some point at all the ridiculous names, because what's the Fantastic Four one called? I don't even remember. Was it just called Extended? Oh yeah, it's just called Extended Edition.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna say I thought I had a special name, but I guess it didn't. With the Spider-Man thing with 2.1, I would have done what Star Trek: The Motion Picture did on VHS back in the I guess it was the late 80s, early 90s, when they called it the special longer version.
Well, I wish that Elektra would have followed suit with 2.1 and called it Elektra 1.006. Added in like 3
Why
minutes.
is there even another cut of that movie, man?
Just so they could repackage it and sell it with the Daredevil director's cut.
I will say the packaging for that second version is nicer.
Oh yeah,
like I like that white box.
Yeah, the white and red looks good.
Yeah, we should do a video comparing superhero collections, because most of mine are still the older, like, million-year-old versions, and some of those are really fun to go back and look at.
Yeah, that would be a cool video to do, because I've stopped buying them at this point. I don't buy everything like I used to.
Yeah. And I still do, but not necessarily right when they come out, because too many of these things I just don't love anymore, and I hate saying that, but I'm just liking more things that I'm liking right now. So when a thing comes out, I don't want to spend $20-$25 right away. Like, I'm not gonna watch it right away. Like,
I used to buy all the Marvel movies, but I stopped like around 2013 when I got like the Wolverine or Ghost Rider 2, and then like the Wolverine, and then Dark World right in a row. I was like, oh, maybe I don't buy all of these. Maybe I just bought the ones I like, but I still buy. I have all the MCU except for the Ant-Man movies. Like, I'm still buying those. I should buy the Ant-Man movies just because it's weird that I don't have 2. I don't know if I'll buy.
It's also easy to forget that movie even exists.
Yeah, either of them.
No, but especially the second one. The first one at least adds some, history and lore and stuff to S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, that second movie is so superfluous.
Yeah. J Forever King, $4.99. DJ, I know Garfield is your favorite Spider-Man. Thoughts on him most likely coming back in a lead role? Yeah, so yes. Garfield is by far my favorite, and after this third movie, maybe the only one I like now, because they kind of killed that other character that I really liked. But yeah, I don't. But I love Garfield. I think he's fantastic in that role. I still hate Amazing 2. Like he didn't save that movie for me. I don't. I mean, I guess, if you make a good standalone movie, but they're not going to do that. Everything's going to be tied into each other, which I don't like. I am on the no. I don't want to see him drag back in, mostly because I want to see him make other, like, go watch Tick Tick Boom on Netflix. Everybody, it's amazing. I just watched it on the 2nd, and I watched it again on the 5th, and I've been listening to the soundtrack all day while I work. Like, it's such a good movie. I haven't
finished it yet, but I started it, and what I've seen of it's pretty cool.
Oh, it's one of the most perfectly structured musicals I've ever seen. Like, it's an incredible director's debut for Lin-Manuel Miranda. But yeah, I want him to make those. I want him to go make more of those movies. I don't want to see him drag back into this mess of a franchise. So no. But no, that's a great question, because I love him in the role, and that was one of the only things I liked about No Way Home, was just seeing how much he liked playing that character. Not that he was given anything to do, but you could tell he was just having fun doing that, because he's a huge Spider-Man fan.
So I don't need to see him play that character again, because I already felt like, I mean, I don't want to say that it was totally unsalvageable at the end of 2, and that you couldn't have been a little bit more sober with the third one and, like, wrapped things up nicely, but I feel like we got a glimpse of what that third movie would be, which is kind of what I always thought it would be, and I don't really want to see it, when he's talking about how he kind of went off half-cocked after Gwen Stacy dies, and he's not pulling his punches anymore and stuff. And like, I don't really need to sit through that movie.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But now after the fact, I'm like, I think that's why Sony put that in there, was because they want to make that movie.
Well, because that's what that movie was going to be, and they're kind of after the fact telling us where he went. I do appreciate that those characters are talking about where they are now. Where we get kind of a sense of, years or decades later, like what they're doing. You won't agree with this, DJ, but this is just the experience that I have with it and how I feel about it. I talked about this on Sunday. I don't have that with Garfield. I cannot believe that I have it with Maguire, but I do, and I can't help it.
You told me about that. That caught me off guard.
I was really shocked by how much I liked his performance in that movie, and I like just seeing a more subdued, more kind of sober Maguire playing that character again in finally a fourth Spider-Man movie is kind of appealing to me after seeing that movie. I thought his performance was really classy. And I never really cared for him in that role. Like, I never wanted that before. I didn't want a Spider-Man 4 after 3, but like, if we had to spin anybody off out of that, that's the one I would maybe be okay with. Which I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I feel almost embarrassed for saying it, but I do feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people think that. I didn't have that with him. I felt like he just didn't look at what he did in that movie and didn't remember what he did and was just playing it as himself. I felt like he wasn't even acting. I think he was just reading the lines how he would read it as Toby. But I'm glad
that was more appealing to me, though, because he's an adult Peter Parker now who's not still, doing the high school thing. And I feel like he, years and years later, when he actually somehow patches things up with that MJ, which is, by the way, the least realistic thing in the entire movie that apparently happened.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Ross and Rachel and Friends, where by the 10th season, I'm like, I don't buy that they stay together. Why am I supposed to be happy right now that they got together? They're gonna break up in a week, like. And
then like 2 episodes before the end, they go, let's hook back up again so that we can get the fans what we want. Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for the personal question, man.
So we are 20 minutes over. Let's try to wrap up as quickly as we can.
Yeah, we've got just a few left here. Bob the Hun, did you hear the rumors that more Batman will be forced in Flash? More Batmen will be forced into Flash via reshoots. Bale, that has to be a rumor. Bale, Clooney, and Kilmer. They will want to top Far From Home, apparently. Well, he did the same thing you did. No Way Home.
Okay, so I don't buy that for a minute, and part of that is because, first of all, Kilmer can't do it. Like, he's not in the physical shape to come back and do that. I don't know.
Clooney and Bale would never do it.
They wouldn't do it, yeah. I mean, never say never. Maybe they could get enough money thrown at them. Maybe if it was just a cameo thing or whatever.
Yeah,
like, at one time, people said that about Harrison Ford with Star Wars 2, and we saw what happened with that. But, yeah, I don't see it. That doesn't sound likely to me.
I mean, I say Bale would never do it. He's doing a Thor movie by the Ragnarok guy, which doesn't seem like something he would have fun doing. I don't know. We can never say never about anything anymore.
I bet Bale just didn't watch Ragnarok. He's like, I've seen a few MCU things. I know what these things are. And then he'll walk in. Oh, this is what we're making? Oh, all right. Oh, sorry. Going all the way back to the beginning of the show. The best thing about the CW possibly getting bought, I meant to say this, sorry, about the CW possibly getting bought out by another company, is that it means that we can't possibly ever see that god-awful Powerpuff Girls live-action show.
That's true.
If that happens, that can never happen now.
Oh, sorry, I was distracted by a hilarious comment from Ryder, who says, Kilmer and Clooney are the same character as Keaton. Which is true.
Oh yeah, how would that even... and even if you can make an argument, which you could, for Forever and Batman and Robin are in like a slightly, off universe from '89, that's still the same universe.
No, what it is, it's the same character from different time periods, just played by different actors.
Or what if we say that every sequel, you can make this argument, every sequel with the original Thor from the 90s, we take a step into just a slightly altered universe. So, like, from Batman to Batman Returns, looks a lot like '89, but something's a little off. It's kind of strange. We took a step off, and then you get to Batman Forever, and we do it again. And Batman even looks different now, because it's like the Spider-Man thing with the three Spider-Men that look totally different. And then Batman and Robin, we do that again.
Might as well. I mean, that's one of the things I don't like about multiverses. Literally, there's no rules. You could anything. It's like I'm Batman. It's like, it's a multiverse. Don't ask questions.
Well, it's like time travel a lot, but like I like a lot of time travel stories, and I like them, and I like some multiverse stories. You're right. That's often the problem with them. It doesn't have to be. You could have rules.
Absolutely.
You could tell us what the rules are, and then stick to them. These things are all conceits, and the rules would be somewhat arbitrary. I don't care how arbitrary they are. Just tell me how it works, and then stick to it.
Yeah. I mean, I love Spider-Verse. I've talked about this before. That didn't even have to be a multiverse movie. That was just the premise, and it was great. Ryder, again, $2. Do you see a Birds of Prey getting a sequel? Or do you see Birds of Prey getting a sequel?
No, not at all. It didn't perform the way they wanted it to. It wasn't commercially, or it wasn't critically very successful. And, I mean, I'm sure they'll still do more things with that Harley Quinn. But I think...
Yeah, she's already had another movie. She's already been in another movie.
Yeah. They must have looked at that and went, okay, nobody cares about the Birds of Prey part. And then they'll just make the Harley Quinn movie they always should have made in the first place, probably. And, I mean, I hate saying that because I would much prefer a Birds of Prey movie, but that's not what we got in the first place, and I didn't like those characters, so...
That would be so weird. We would have, like, a Harley Quinn, like, quadrilogy where two are the same movie, but, like, not the same, and then one of them is like Harley Quinn movie but not a Harley Quinn movie, and then we finally get a Harley Quinn movie. It's the weirdest. That would be the weirdest.
The world would, you couldn't have possibly in a million years predicted where we are with superhero movies now, with just all the like, especially like just Deadpool on. Like, you could have never imagined, you'd get Deadpool movies that are more popular than X-Men movies, and that would ever even get greenlit in the first place, and that you'd get Rocket. I always say this, Rocket Raccoon before Wonder Woman, and just all this stuff that like should never have even been possible. But at the point where it will really break my brain is at the point with just every other insane thing that's, and like tacking on Death of Superman in your Batman versus Superman movie before you even get to Justice League, and just that title, Dawn of Justice. You couldn't have predicted any of this absolute insanity. But when we live in the world where not only Suicide Squad got a soft reboot a few years later called The Suicide Squad, when that happens with The Birds of Prey, I'm done.
The Birds of Prey. Why did they do that? I don't. That's the dumbest title. Like, I know everyone loves the Suicide Squad, but that's so stupid. Why did you just add a the? Oh, man.
At least they didn't call it Suicide Squad again, and now we've got 2 movies with the same title. Like, all these horror franchises keep doing. Scream just did it, just like Halloween did.
Stop doing that.
It's not even a flat-out reboot. It's another, like, soft reboot in the same continuity, just like, you know, a lot of other things have been.
Yeah, I guess some people are still afraid of subtitles. It's still TV to them. We've been doing it for decades now. We've still been doing. I mean, we've been doing a lot of subtitles. It's just not. People are still don't like them.
I want to see.
MCU's been doing it since 2011.
I know they're doing a series, and I don't know how you get a series out of this, but I know Amazon's doing a series out of I Know What You Did Last Summer. I want to see a soft reboot of that, where they just make like the most convoluted possible title, where it's like, I know what you were considering thinking maybe doing last summer. Like,
I know what you didn't do last summer. I know what you should have done last summer.
I can't believe it's not last summer.
All right, we are on the last one. We made it. Woo.
Awesome. Exciting.
It's been a feat unto itself. Lewis Cox. Could there
especially when my average answer time has been 40 minutes a question.
Could there be an Avengers movie that could be called Uncanny Avengers, or even Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Ooh, I like that.
That'd be good. I don't want Uncanny Avengers until we get Uncanny X-Men as a movie. That would irritate me to no end. But yeah, DJ, I wish we would go back to more of those kinds of titles. The Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk and Amazing Spider-Man. That's so cool.
Just for the love of God, don't do Amazing Spider-Man 2 again. That was so obnoxious. Like, what a stupid title.
Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man movies are horrible with titles. Like, we just complained about the Home trilogy for a while. Like, just... Spider-Man sells movies. It doesn't matter what it's called. People are going to go see it. Like, what? I don't understand why we were so bad at naming Spider-Man movies. Just give it a cool name. A cool-sounding Spider-Man name that has to do with what the movie's about.
And go back to more, and not just with Spider-Man, go back to more of the, classic comic book subtitles.
Well, it would have been cool with Spider-Man if that had finished and it was good and had a trilogy. If the Amazing Spider-Man, if that had more to do with like him in that movie, and then we did Sensational's too close. But if we had ones that were different sounding, and then that movie was he was more like that, like he fit the title better in that one. Like you've always talked about Web of Spider-Man.
And then you do one where he's like this master manipulator, and it's Web of Spider-Man.
That's the thing that's hard, though, is because all of them are just adjective, like Sensational and Amazing. Like, what's different? Like, you couldn't really. This is the same thing. It's just a different.
No, that's the problem with
just
that.
Different adjective.
And then the ones where it would actually tell you something about the character would be things you wouldn't want. Like, I don't want Superior Spider-Man the movie.
No, yeah, I don't want that to be in a part of a trilogy. That would be way too drastic.
I think Batman has more of them that work, that are more descriptive and aren't just of like what a story would be about and wouldn't be just like an adjective. Like Dark Knight was on the right path, but Legend of the Dark Knight I always wanted to be the title for Dark Knight Rises, and because that was literally about passing a torch and the legend of Batman. I think that word is even used again. Like, how didn't we call it that? But yeah, so it's a little bit easier for that franchise. But Invincible Iron Man would have been nice.
I was just gonna say, what if we got a movie where what if we got another Iron Man solo movie where it was like how he's never gonna give up the suit, and it's called The Invincible Iron Man? Like, that would have been awesome. The Uncanny X-Men also has more of a vibe to it. Like, that's uncanny. Like, we haven't really, I mean, I guess we played with that a little bit in the original trilogy, but if we made them more, well, I don't want to say go more to a horror route, because that went terribly last time, but
yeah, but it didn't have to. I mean, we're on the right track with the second round of X-Men movies in the McAvoy days, because X-Men First Class was what that movie was about. I mean, sort of. They weren't really a class, but whatever. People complain about that. But that was a comic title, and it was kind of nice they did that. And then they started going with event titles, Days of Future Past and stuff. And, I mean, it sucked that it was just Apocalypse. because they couldn't do Age of now because they got ahead of that with Ultron, and then they titled that movie Age of Ultron, and then subsequently made a comic event called Age of Ultron, which has nothing to do with that movie before the movie came out, but telegraphed things that would happen in that movie.
Yeah. No, I support that. The problem is we've done like a spattering of them at this point that we can't use all of them, so it's like weird that we would just have like some sprouting up. It's kind of you kind of had to do them all. Call it the Amazing Spider-Man from the beginning in the Raimi movies, or call it the first Hulk movie, the Incredible Hulk. Like you kind of had to start like that. It's in a weird place right now.
Well, anyway, is that all the super chats?
That is the end.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for making it to this suddenly and unplanned, epically long episode of the Captain Logan Show. We will be with you again next Thursday night, again for another one, is the plan. Tomorrow night, Austin and I will be doing a blind marathon of commentaries that I'm not planning for at all on the original 60s Spider-Man cartoon, which I've never seen a whole episode of.
That's
I've
hilarious.
never sat through that. I've seen some amusing clips, but I'm going to give you my reactions in real time the first time watching a few of those. We'll probably broadcast a couple hours and do 3, 4, 5 of those.
It's funny.
And Are you watching Austin pick them because I don't know that show. Say again.
I was gonna say, is he picking like some good episodes, or are you just watching them in order? Because it goes crazy real fast. The first episode is Dr. Octopus. The second episode is giant ice power monsters from Pluto. Like they go completely off book really quick.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
I'm sure he'll pick some weird ones. I hope he picks the Rhino episode where the action scene takes place underwater and Rhino's swimming around.
What?
It's amazing.
I can't wait. And then Sunday, Connor and I are going to chat live a little bit about the new Matrix movie, where we'll probably mostly just throw our hands in the air and do this for 45 minutes to an hour. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I'm tuning in for that. That sounds great.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for bearing with me over the last couple weeks while I've been recovering, and thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I was Captain Logan. This was DJ Martinez.
Have fun, guys. See you later.
We'll be with you again next week. Bye, everybody.